don't we ask him if he wants to do it via Zoom? So John gracefully said yes. So I think Gigi's coming out of her chair too.
No, I'm excited. I mean, Giovanna says I'm always excited when we have one of these people, but I'm very excited. I even texted the men this morning. I don't know why I'm so excited. He's gonna talk about grace. I mean, I want more grace. I want to give more grace. He's gonna talk about liberation. I want more liberation, and I want to give more liberation. And when you read the title of his book, On My Worst Day, how many people have worst days? I don't know, just the whole thing. Every YouTube I've watched on him has been absolutely amazing, you know? And then we all saw him, some of us at Hope4Life, in the documentary, Heart of a Man. What a testimony, you know? So much truth, so much vulnerability, so much transparency, so much realness, you know?
So
I'm just excited, if you all can't tell.
All that to say, we're very excited. And we're very excited to see all of you. And Gigi, do you have some announcements that you would like to do?
In the middle.
No, like
right now for housekeeping stuff. Do you want to do?
And I want to do this. Yeah. Good morning. So we have a lot of new people that are asking and texting me privately. When is John coming in? I thought this was about John. What's going on? So I just want to appease everybody. Yes, John Lynch is joining us today. Where does he live, Lucky and Jovi?
3 hours behind us, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, so we are giving him some time to get up, have his coffee, get ready. So that's why he's not coming in right away, but he's coming in shortly. And we just want to remind people of a few things. Very important. Have your journal and your pen ready because you are going to be taking some beautiful notes today. Actually, every Saturday. So make sure you have your journal ready. Have your coffee ready and your water ready also, so you don't miss it. Very important. We say this every Saturday and every Thursday and Tuesday. Please, if you are watching from your phone and you need to go to the restroom, do not take your phone with you to the restroom. Turn off your camera if you want to keep hearing. But really, the best thing that you can do is leave your phone where it's at and then go to the restroom and come back, okay? If you are cooking or if you're laying down and you're cleaning out something, please turn off your camera momentarily so that you don't distract others with all the movement and everything. But we invite you to actually take some time and focus and just enjoy what God has for you today. And I'm so excited. I see people here. I see Paco from España is with us today. Bienvenido, Paco. How exciting. I see Marcy. There's so many familiar faces, but there's a lot of you who've never been here at Hope4Life. So if you could please go to the chat, you can look at Gigi, tap Gigi and text me your email, your cell phone, and your full name so that we can add you, if you want to our database, and we can send you the notifications that we send every week. Last but not least, every Tuesday and Thursday, we're doing support groups on Zoom. So if you really enjoyed today and you would like to talk about whatever comes up with today's talk with John, and stuff comes up and you want to be part of our groups, every Tuesday and Thursday we meet from 7 to 9:30 and you can join us. We meet men with men, women with women, and that's for the time being. While we're in quarantine, we're doing everything on Zoom. As we prepare to come out into the world again, we will be sharing with you more details what that's going to look like. But in the meantime, we're going to continue doing Zoom until it's appropriate and until we hear more from what we are supposed to do. Okay, guys. Is there anything else that you would like to? Oh, I have one more thing, guys. Zoom has announced that they're doing an upgrade. If you haven't upgraded your Zoom to 5.0 yet, you got to do it. Today's the last day. because next week when you're going to try to come into the Zoom meeting, it's going to tell you, oops, you got to upgrade. So if you get any notifications from Zoom, make sure you pay attention and get them done. Okay? And I'll have more announcements later. So Joey, it's all yours.
I need you to also explain a little bit about how the chat is going to go, that at one point we're going to close it down for, and last week that created a lot of,
impatient people.
No, a lot of people got hurt thinking we were blocking them and we were not allowing their questions to come in. So can you explain how that's going to go too, please?
Yes. So right now the chat is open. Everybody's saying good morning, hello, what's going on? But as soon as John Lynch comes in, we are going to stop the chat, only because we don't want to distract anyone from what John is going to say, right? So it's not that we're not allowing someone in particular, it's just that we want to minimize all distractions. And then when it's time to do Q&A with John, you can write the questions on the chat. Okay, he's gonna have a time where you can interact and you can ask your questions, but during his time speaking, we're gonna close the chat. Everybody good? Now, everybody's muted right now, and if you want to chime in or participate, I mean, we welcome participation. That's what we love about Hope for Life. So you can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself and you can chime in, but let's see what John has to say today before we try to occupy the space and the time with our opinions. Sometimes that just takes away from what he wants to do.
Our classes are fully interactive every Saturday, but let's keep it to a minimum and listen. Like Gigi said it already, I'm just repeating myself, which I have a habit of doing. My wife says I repeat myself all the time. Keep the chatter to a minimum and write questions down in your notebook. So send them to Gigi, and we're going to have a Q&A towards the end.
Yes. So he should be coming in soon. We have a few more minutes. Right, Gigi?
Yes, he should be in about 5 minutes.
No worries.
So I just wanted to read something that he wrote in his book. And I think a lot of us have really, this is how his journey to finding God, grace, came about. And I think a lot of us can relate to this. So listen to this. Lucky's going to read it.
The first part of my life, I spent trying to make myself lovable so I would be loved. The second part of my life, I spent trying to make myself worthy of the love I had found. The third part of my life, I spent trying to convince myself the love I had found was enough. The fourth part of my life, I am actually beginning to experience the life love has given me. This is from John's book, On My Worst Day. And so if this is a sample of what he's going to talk about, I can't wait.
Yeah, but it goes to say, like, how many of us, and I think many of us can relate to that. This is how many of us have been trying to, first part of our life, part of our journey is, how can I make myself lovable? Because many of us really will not, we don't think we are lovable. We hear this all the time. And Dr. Toomer last week, which by the way was absolutely amazing, was wonderful. And he said, one of the things he said is, he talked about self-hatred. And I think self-hatred, it's like what we hear the most here at Hope for Life when we talk one-on-one with people and when we have meetings with people, is self-hatred. So we spend so much of our time, and not only with one another and other people, with God. What can I do for you to love me? What can I do for you to think that I'm worthy, you know? So I think this is very good. And I just want to pray before we start, and he should be with us in a few minutes. So I will invite you to settle down. I will invite you to, I don't know, per se, like expand your heart, expand your being to receive, you know. Do not throw the baby with the basket out
Yeah,
there.
please do not throw the baby out with the bath water.
You know, like just there's all the time, you might not agree with everything one person says, but there's always something to learn. There's always something to experience. And if you're here this morning, you're not here by mistake. It's for something. So open up your heart to receive. You know, we have a tendency that immediately we hear something that we didn't like, we get stuck there, we shut ourselves down, we begin to argue that in our heads, and we don't listen to the rest. So try not to do that. Ground yourself, be present. We have this morning, we have this day. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. You know, enjoy this moment. You know, don't be doing 1,000 things. Don't be on your phone. Don't be, you know, try not to. Give yourself the gift of this moment. You know, these are wonderful speakers that for some reason the Lord has allowed us to bring, and they're coming. And I think it's a feast. I think we've had an amazing feast for the last, what?
10 weeks.
10 weeks. It's just been amazing, one after the other. And just when we think it cannot get better, it gets better. So, and that's God. That's God.
Jovi, for those who are joining us for the first time, you want to share who has been with us for the past few weeks?
You go ahead and share, Gigi.
I can't because I'm setting up Facebook. Sorry.
So, yes, we started with Trisha Frost from Shiloh Place Ministry. She came in with her son-in-law dog crew. We've had Clay McLean, Clara Olivos, Russell Black, Pastor Russell Black. We've had Dr. Grant Mullen. We've had William Paul Young, Dr. Jethro Toomer, Bradley Jersak, and Eden Jersak. So, I mean, isn't that like a feast? That's like unbelievable.
It's like a banquet.
Yeah. With caviar, you know, like it's just like the top of the top, you know. So, so open your hearts, be ready, expect, you know, have a childlike faith, expect that something amazing is going to happen today for you in your life, for your family, and just for you. I mean, that's amazing. So, Father, we thank you for today, and we are so excited. We ask that you enlarge our hearts, you enlarge our beings to receive your word, to receive you. To receive you, Father. Give us, please, a childlike faith to hear and just to run with it, to hear and just to receive. That we can cuddle with you today and just be on your laps, receiving your love, receiving your grace, and receiving what you have for us. You know the areas in our lives that we struggle with. You know that many times we fall, the many times we get up, the many times we say to ourselves, promise to ourselves never to do that again, and we find ourselves doing it again. At the core of our beings, we all want to be good. But all this garbage has been dumped on us. And we have to rewire our thinking. We have to rewire the way we see you, the way we see life, the way we relate with others. So, Father, truly, truly, we need your help. We need your love. And we need your grace. So bless this time that we're all going to be together. I pray for every single person joining us today. Father, you are with them in their home. It's so amazing to see everyone in their places, in their habitats. Father, just pour your love unto everyone this morning and allow this excitement to rise within them. A desire to want to know you more, a desire to draw closer to you, a desire to gaze at you constantly, and a desire to allow ourselves to love ourselves and to see ourselves the way that you love us and the way that you see us, that we are not damaged goods, that we are your precious children, and you care so much for us. So we give you this time this morning, and we say yes to you this morning to come in and do what you need to do within us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We're very excited because John is in the house.
Good morning. So can you talk so people can see you? Welcome.
Yes, can you see me?
Morning,
Yes.
John Lynch.
I am here. Oh, this is beautiful, you guys.
Wow.
Gigi, thank you for all of you to make this happen. And I'm just, thanks for giving me the extra half hour to sleep. Thank you.
Yes, we had some complaints about that, but they'll have to sort themselves out now.
I am nervous because I have heard from many just of what this community is and how beautiful it is. And that's sacred to me. And so I think I've been preparing for this more than I usually get to or even want to. So forgive me, I've got papers all over and 7 directions I might want to go. There's some things to tell you first. Just look at my hair. Let's get that out of the way. I've tried to do so many things with my hair over the years. And recently, I just want you to hear, I get out of the shower and whatever it looks like is what I do. So that's a whole new day for me. You're seeing it just this is like in the last week. So very impressive, very impressive. But I want to tell you, a couple more things you don't know about me that I think are very impressive. If you want to know John Lynch, I can hold my breath underwater a real long time. I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm impressed by it. And the second is, and I was supposed to be here this weekend. I was supposed to be with you guys, and I could have proven something. The next thing, I can eat food faster than anyone I've ever met. And you may say, oh, I've got an uncle who can, and I'm sure you do, and I'm sure he eats quickly, but I've never met anyone who eats faster than me. So there. There may be other things that you want to know about me, but those are the biggies. Well, Gigi, you called this, I think, the language of grace in this session. And so I wanted to at least start by reading to you something that gives me an overview sense of what that means, what the language of love, the language of grace, and how we can speak with each other in it. I also want to say, I want to tell you my story this morning, or at least some of it. And then maybe a foundational kind of what's come out of that? What have I learned out of that? And what has it taught me? And how do I now see how I live this life? Do I really, as Giovanna just prayed, do I see that the most real me doesn't want to get away with anything? Is that incredible? The most real me wants to love like crazy. That's who I am. So I want to talk about that whole journey, and you guys just kind of guide me along. When I get off track or go too long on something, just do this, like land the plane. You know, you can do that for me. I'm so honored to be here. Come on, Paul Young told me about you guys. Paul Young. Woo! Okay. So there is a language of love, a language of grace, a language which calls to the new heart. Now, there are dozens of ways to get things done. There are endless manners of techniques to win. There's certainly more than one way to compel people to comply. And there are numerous approaches to get others to look right. But there's probably only one way to get to the new heart. And the new heart is where the real work happens, where wisdom and insight and discernment and love and healing and integrity is nurtured. Without engaging a trusting heart, you're just moving deck chairs around and playing whack-a-mole with the next issue that's coming up. So I've got to trash any methodology motivated by fear. I've got to abandon blame and shame and comparisons and powering up and moralism and nagging and lecturing or a moral teaching moment to every story. The language of love, of grace, it studies the art of learning how to woo out another's heart to enter the scene. It waits to become objective instead of subjectively rushing to, you ought, you should, why haven't you by now, what's wrong with you? The language of love risks the long view. It is convinced that the very Spirit of God resides in the other. And so you don't have to do their convicting. You just get to convince them that there's such a spirit in them and such a God-infused person describing their very essence. You get to stay with them in the strangeness. You get to be trusted to walk behind the facade and kindly, but eventually challenge the real game time lies that they have carried for so long. Oh, and you get to fail at all of this and then ask for forgiveness. For you know, if you gain trust, everything else will eventually fall into place. Trust is the currency of another's change. Romans 6:14 that we're going to talk about in a moment tells us that only grace can deal with sin. Only grace can deal with sin. And only love can deal with sin. And so lovers walk in the fragile and imperfect expressions of grace to win another's heart. I need such friends in my life all the time. I want to be such a friend to others in my life all the time. I have failed this and I have hurt others along the way, but I still know it's true. There's no other route to life-giving, peace-nurturing, trust-earning integrity. This is the beautiful and only strategy of God. I'm so endlessly grateful. This is how he chooses to work in us. So those are some underlying convictions that you and I can nurture an environment where we woo out each other's heart in language of grace. In a way of speaking, a way of application, a way of nurturing in our marriage, in our friendships, in our families, in our small groups, that there is a way that does not appeal to the flesh. The flesh has, it's incorrigible. It's this expression that uses the language of, what's wrong with you? When will you? Why can't you? Look at you. You're doing it wrong again. See, hey, come on. Let's go. Let's be better. And none of that changes anything except superficially for a moment. But if I can get an appeal without shame, without condemnation, without embarrassment, if I can find an appeal to your new heart, it comes out. It expresses itself. It becomes free to be wild and alive. And it starts to trust, and it starts to tell on itself, and it starts to not be afraid anymore. And it doesn't hide and put on facades and tell fake stories. So, where to begin? Do you mind if I read something to you? This is out of a book I wrote a while back called On My Worst Day, and just a shameless promotion right there. But it's kind of a journey through my life of God speaking. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so great. Thank you for that shameless promotion. But it is a book that kind of says, what was I imagining that God was saying to me even before I had put my hope in him? And what does grace look like when it's not working? So I came and put my hope in Jesus in 1979, December 23rd. I came out of a family where that was not a thing. My dad was a Mensa atheist, and I was brought up that way. But I started teaching high school in Phoenix, Arizona, Arcadia High School. And I was teaching English and drama. And my students, the first play that I cast, 2/3 of them were Young Life kids. And they would stay after rehearsal and tell me about Jesus. And then somebody gave me C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce. And somebody gave me a Keith Green album. I thought, Keith Green is if Keith, and then Bob Dylan. They gave me Bob Dylan, the Bob Dylan Slow Train Coming, and that whoever wrote that was incredible. And I thought, if Dylan's become a believer, the boat door's going to close soon. I got to get on. And December 23rd, 1979, I said, Jesus, I'm done running. I've got dope resin all over my hands. I'm burned out. I'm tired. Come into my heart. And the next few months were truly incredible, truly wonderful. And then this happened. And I wonder if this is familiar to you. I wonder if this has happened somewhere along your journey. Listen to me as I read this maybe. This is in 1980, just months after I put my hope in Jesus. So what happened? I wish I could isolate the moment. All I know is that nobody did it to me. I pulled the bait and switch. I think I presumed every day would be that intense, that jaw-dropping. I imagined I was one of the last humans to be rescued, and now the end would come. The boat door was about to close. All I wanted to do was ride across the country on my 10-speed with a sleeping bag and a day pack into coffee shops, telling everyone, get on board because the show's about to end. John Lynch has become a Christian. But weeks passed and I was still here. And slowly I realized I could still be sad, and I was not impervious to people cutting me off in traffic. And I discovered my reactions and wrong affections had not been healed. I was experiencing stupidly immoral thoughts. I would tell Jesus, don't listen to that thought. Please, I didn't mean it. Then I moved on to this. Of course, I knew it. I'd screw this up. God goes to all the work of bringing me to him, and now I've got him disappointed. I do this to everyone. They all eventually leave. It's who I am. See, look, now I'm swearing. But I knew I could not live with what I'd found. I couldn't lose it. So in that moment, like smoke slipping under a door, it crept back in. Shame. You know that guilt says you've done something wrong. Shame says there is something uniquely and irreparably wrong with who you are. And no matter what you do, no matter what you learn, it's never going to go away. You're never going to be better. That's what shame hisses. I guess I thought to get back feeling close to God, it would take the same methods that once gave me applause and success. Increase willpower, diligence, ought, berating myself to care more. And that lie would spread its tentacles through my soul for many, many years. I guess I I guess I could have challenged the lie. Hey, wait. Hold on. I didn't earn this love from God. I didn't figure this thing out. I didn't do anything heroic to get it. It was entirely one way. He invaded my destruction. Nothing I'm experiencing suggests he's one to bless me with happiness or withhold it by the constancy of my devotion. He knows me. He knows I was smoking 3 packs a day and dropping cheap acid and lying on my resume that I'd done stand-up comedy in LA. I wonder what would have happened if I'd simply called out to God and said, hey, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm messing things up. I spent the entire last week hiding from you, trying to figure out some right formula to make it right, to make you happy with me again. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm confused and maybe disappointed. Is it okay to tell you that? I wanted to always have it be like those first few weeks. Anyways, I'm freaked out and I'm feeling this old familiar sense like someone's about to leave me again. Please don't go away from me. I've waited for you all my life. Please, I've nowhere else to go. If I can know you're there, that you're not angry or disgusted, or if this is the way it's going to be, I'm totally good. I just need to know I haven't screwed this whole thing up. I'd like a sign or something right now, but I have an idea you probably don't do magic when you're trying to form faith. See, with that right there, that sounded like I know what I'm talking about. I don't. It's something I heard someone say, and then I repeat it and make it sound like me. I do that. I make up crap. Anyway, I love you so much. I can't make it go away even if I wanted to. Help me. Love, John. But I didn't do that. My fear of losing this ecstatic experience drowned him out, drowned out such logic. I almost didn't care whether he operated out of peevish, manipulative jealousy or not. I just wanted the feeling back. When compelled, I don't know many humans who are more restrictively disciplined toward a goal than me, so I reared back and spent my best effort trying to find a way to get God to be pleased with me. Nothing deadens us more than learning to perform from duty and ought what we once did as a natural response of a new heart. And so my joy walked back into the shadows. I didn't talk to anyone about it. Nobody told me they were doing such a similar thing, but I soon found out it was an unspoken way of life in most faith communities. No matter how much we sang of his unconditional love and sovereign power, we trusted more in our ability to keep ourselves in good stead. We were becoming religiously self-righteous and increasingly miserable. Take a second. Does that describe your journey at any part for any of you?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say was, but maybe it still is sometimes. And I was going to say was, but that's too self-righteous. I think sometimes it's still like that.
Yeah,
When
I agree. I love that you say
day, John, on my worst day.
Yes.
On
Yeah.
my worst day, mine.
Well, even on my semi-worst days.
Yeah, thank you.
And so let me fast forward. I become a preacher. I get seminary experience. I learn Greek. I learn Hebrew. I learn systematic theology and biblical theology. And I graduate Kappa Tau Sigma. I'm really fired up. And I show up at a church that I didn't know it. My high school kids brought me to. My high school students took me to. It was the first place that was authentic to me, that felt authentic, that felt genuine. It's where I still go to church, Open Door Fellowship. My son is now the pastor there. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But in those days, here I am, I'm back from seminary, and I'm preaching from my shame. I'm preaching buck up moralism. I'm preaching, come on, be more like me. And inside, I'm a phony. I'm trying so hard to impress you with who I'm afraid that I'm not. And I preach, and after I preach, I hear these thoughts in my head. Well, funny boy. Well, you really had them today, didn't you? That was great. That was great. They really liked you. Oh, that was smooth. I love that second story, how you weaved that in. That was seamless. That was nice. Hey, you know the only one who wasn't taken in? Me. God. I'm on to you, kid. You've let me down. You've disappointed me. I had so much more in store for you, but you've let me down. Yeah, and so I'm going to have exposure. I'm going to expose you. That's right. That's what I'm going to do. And you'll thank me for it later, but I'm going to have to let everybody know that you're a phony. Guys, for a long time, I carried that. I really believed that was how God saw me, mildly disgusted with me, disdainful. Yes, I'm going to get to go to heaven, but there will be no patting on the armrests on my chair. That much is certain. So may I back up and tell you how that gets formed? My shame story. Sorry, I got to get water. My shame story goes all the way back to 5th grade. I've started telling this story more and more. I hope it's helpful to you. No more preconditions on it. I grew up in Southern California. I mean, Upland, California. It is perfect weather, the place to be. If you're not in Miami at Hope4Life, this is where you should be, is in Southern California. And Lucille Engel kind of thinks I'm cute. I mean, and she's a fox. I mean, and I'm a baseball pitcher. I'm becoming a very good baseball pitcher. By high school, I will become in Arizona an all-state pitcher and then pitch for a while at Arizona State. But all now, it's just fun. It's just fun. Except there's a tough kid in my 5th grade class. And he beats kids up. He doesn't beat me up because he thinks I'm funny. But one day he says, Lynch, meet me down at the railroad tracks on Saturday, and we'll meet down there. I didn't know what to do. I'd never spend any time with him. I didn't want to spend time with him. He scared me. So I did. I went down to the railroad tracks. And he met me there, and we started walking. We walked to a destination. There are these, they're still there, these rusted out railroad cars. Back in those days, they sent oranges all across the country. And kids, we would get into those railroad cars, and people would try to run us off, but we'd sneak in and we'd get ourselves oranges. We'd lay on our back and eat oranges. Nobody had scurvy in Upland. It was delightful. But nobody was there on Saturday. And the tough kid walked me to those cars, and I got in. Same thing. I'm starting to open an orange, and I'm thinking, oh, here we are. We're having fun. And then I hear the sound of him coming in and closing the iron grate steel door that goes over the top of the rail car. And now it's dark. And he looks at me and says, these are the things that I am going to do to you. And these are the things that you are going to do to me. And I never even heard such things. I was just a jock kid. But I was so scared. And so I did. And 30 minutes later, I walk out of that freight car entirely changed. My first thought, by the way, I never even, I have no memory of him ever again. I have no memory. I don't know what happened, where he went, but I have this incredible memory of immediately going, no, 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 no. That did not happen. Nobody will ever know about that. That just didn't happen. I'm going to go on. Everything's going to be fine. I knew I couldn't tell my parents. I knew they couldn't handle me. So I told no one. And yet this little boy, this innocent kid who just loved to throw the football up in the air in my front yard and imagine and daydream, he carried this lie. I carried this lie everywhere I went, all through 5th grade, all through junior high, all through high school. I never told anyone. All through college, I never told anyone. All through my wandering years. Then I came to Jesus. I never told anyone. I got married. I never told anyone. I thought if Stacy, my wife, knew that she would be, if I told her the story, she would be so disgusted with me that she would leave me. By this time now, I've been a pastor. I have pastored for decades. And now I'm writing books with an organization called True Face, and I'm traveling with them. I still have not told anyone. I'm in my 30s. Guys, I just felt like I would lose my seat at the table. Like you would be if you knew. And everywhere I went, it's like I thought people could see through me and tell that I was a phony. When I finally did tell someone, it's so funny. Bill Thrall, a co-writer with these books. If you ever have Bill on, you'll never have me on again. He's just too wise. He's such a good man. But one day we were at some conference in Washington State, and I just blurted it out. I just said, Bill, you got to hear what happened to me when I was in 5th grade. And I was so disappointed at his response. All these years I thought I was going to lose my job, that Bill would have to leave me as a friend. And he said something like this to me, John, that breaks my heart. I hate that. And we'll get to talk about it more and stuff, but we got another session in 5 minutes. Let's go. And I went, I've hid for 30 some years for this. And then I told my wife, Stacy, and she said the same thing. That just breaks my heart, John. I love you so much. I'll stand with you for the rest of my days. I'm so proud of you. Now, what do you want for dinner? What? Anyway, I have spent the rest of my days learning to understand that who I am is not a shame-based creature. It's not my identity. That the moment I put my hope in Jesus, I became a brand new creature with a shame-free identity and a brand new nature fused within me. And I've been trying with everything in me to learn how to articulate and communicate who I am in Christ, who you are in Jesus, who we are now. So what a powerful passage. You know this passage so well, but I want to read it again because it tells me who I am. I, John Lynch, Galatians 2:20, I have been crucified with Christ. Whatever happened to him, I got involved in what that cost and what the payoff was. And it's no longer the old John Lynch who lives, the one full of shame, the one who always wanted to be better but didn't know how to be better. That guy, the desperate one, the one who faked, the one who bluffed, the one who tried so hard to impress you enough so that you'd love him. That old creature, that died. Now I still have my tastes. I still like Volkswagens and the color blue. I still cheesecake and pie. When I come, you guys are going to make such good food, and I would have liked that then, and I will like it now. Some things didn't change, but it's no longer I, that old I who lives, but Christ lives in me. And I can't say it without an Irish accent. Christ lives in me, fused in me, to where I can't tell where he leaves off and I start up. I'm a brand new creature. And so the life I live now in this skin, in this flesh, I live by trusting God at who he says I am, at who he says he is in me, who loved me and gave himself up for me. I don't try to impress him. I'm not bluffing anymore. I'm not trying hard. I'm not sin management. I'm not self-protecting. Again, sometimes I do. But the real me gets to trust that this is who I am, and that this God who adores me, who lives inside of me, who never has that voice of what's wrong with you, I'm going to have to expose you. Never, ever, ever is there a voice of condemnation in the voice of God. He adores me. And so I get to live out of that. He says, that's all I want. Just don't run. You don't have to create anything. You don't have to do anything magical. You're my responsibility. You're right on time. And I love you more than 10 trillion yet unnamed galaxies. He says, just stay. Don't run. To the exact extent that my Father loves me, John, the Gospel of John, to the exact extent that my Father loves me, Jesus says, and I'm thinking that's some significant love. To the exact extent that my Father loves me, Jesus says, so also I love you. Are you kidding me? And you can question his taste, but don't question his character when he says that. He actually means that to the exact extent that my Father loves me, so also I love you and you and you and you guys, the people on the next page and the folks that I've never met on the next page, all of you. Isn't that supernaturally crazy beautiful? So I have been learning grace. And maybe if you'd let me give some definitions of grace, one that I wrote, and I just, in fact, let me get it off my phone here for a second. Grace is the absolute and unforced favor gained by Christ's death and resurrection, allowing God to be completely for us and endlessly in love with us, apart from anything we must prove. Grace is an actual realm, a way of life in which we no longer strive for acceptance. We mature, heal, and are released into his intentions by trusting that Jesus and all of his power is fused into us, creating an entirely new person. It's also really important to say this. Grace is not a superior, I think, Gigi, you put this up on a beautiful social bite. Grace is not a superior theology perfected to defeat other theologies. Grace is the perfect love-infused expression of Jesus now living in us. It defeats darkness, not other theologies. I love this statement because of the evocative picture that it draws. Grace is not to free us from obeying the heart of God, ever. Grace is the nutrient-rich soil whose seeds of truth drop into, so they're not choked by self-condemnation of failure. Instead, no longer afraid of God's disgust, we can obey God from the heart rather than from compliance. And we grow into a beautiful, healthy tree, giving marvelous shade to others. And I know the rap on grace. Some say, yeah, but what about accountability and responsibility to call out sin with this grace stuff, huh? And the truth is, you can accomplish all that stuff by the flesh or by wooing out our new nature to do what it most wants to do. Any immature person with a bent towards exhortation can do the first, but you just risk causing the individual to learn to hide better, and you inoculate the community from risking an environment of safety and grace.
Wow. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can accomplish that, calling out sin with this grace stuff. You can accomplish that by the flesh or by the wooing out of the new nature to do what it most wants to do. Any immature person with a bent towards exhortation can do the first, but you just risk causing the individual to learn to hide better. And you inoculate the community from risking an environment of safety and trust. Oh, learning the art of the second, that's where the great beauty is found. I also think in terms of talking about grace, I want to read the New Testament Gamble, which if you know me for any length of time, you know that I'm going to read it because I love it so much. I wrote this when my kids, Caleb was 10 and Amy was 8 and Carly was 2. And it's so interesting. I was learning grace and it was wonderful, but I thought this has to be real now. These are my kids. This is not just going to mess me up. It will mess them up if this is not true. So I found myself writing this piece from God's vantage point. In the Old Testament, we understood his authority, but we didn't get his person. And so we ran. We constantly ran. In the Old Testament, without a new heart, we understood his authority, but we didn't understand his person. And so we ran from God. We hid from God. And here in the New Testament, Jesus says, hey, come here. I'm right here. And I am humble and I'm meek. And you'll find safety for your soul. You'll find rest. Come here. So he brings us, he flips the tables and tells us now who he is. So I call it God's great New Testament gamble. What if I tell them who they are? What if I take away any element of fear and condemnation, judgment, or rejection? This is from God's vantage point. What if I tell them that I love them and I will always love them, that I can't love them any more than I love them now, and I love them right now, no matter what they've done, as much as I love my only son? That there's nothing they can do to make my love go away. What if I told them they were righteous with my righteousness right now? What if I told them they could stop beating themselves up, that they could stop being so formal and stiff and jumpy and weird around me? What if I told them I was absolutely crazy about them? What if I told them if they ran to the ends of the earth and did the most unthinkable, horrible things, when they came back, I'd receive them with tears and a party? What if I told them I don't keep a log of past offenses, of how little they pray or make promises they don't keep? What if I told them they don't have to be owned by men's religious additions or traditions? What if I told them if I'm their savior, they're going to heaven no matter what? It's a done deal. What if I told them that they had a new nature, that they were saints, not saved sinners who should now buck up and be better if you are any kind of a Christian after all he's done for you? What if I told them I actually live in them now? That I've put my love and power and nature inside them at their disposal? What if I told them they don't ever have to put on a mask? that it's absolutely perfect to be exactly who they are at this moment? What if they knew they don't have to look over their shoulder for fear if things get too good, the other shoe's going to drop? What if they knew that I will never, for any who have put their hope in me, I will never, ever, 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 ever use the word punish in my relationship with them? What if they were convinced that bad circumstances are not my way of evening the score for taking advantage of me? What if they knew our friendship, the basis of it was not on how little they sinned, but on how much they let me love them? What if they had permission to stop trying to impress me in any way? What if I told them they could hurt my heart, but I'd try to never hurt theirs? What if I told them that I kind of like Clapton's music too? That the these and the thous kind of confuse me. What if I told them I was never really that fond of the Christmas handbell deal with the white gloves? What if I told them they could open their eyes when they pray and still go to heaven? What if I told them it wasn't about their self-effort, but allowing me to live my life through them? That's the New Testament gamble. And we're the guinea pig test. Would we, if we believed this, would we live half-hearted, Christian light, or would we allow ourselves to obey from the heart and crawl into the lap of the one who loves us more than we love ourselves? Well, I have many more things that I want to say of encouragement, but I want to stop and just make sure I'm not just talking to hear myself talk. I want to know what you're hearing, and I want to know what questions it might bring up even now. So maybe we just take a moment to do that. It's I've been on for about 45 minutes, and that's I can go several more hours without any problems, but I do want to stop. Would that be okay? And just ask you guys, what are you hearing me say so far?
Of course, it's okay, and it's wonderful. Thank you so much, John. I opened the chat for people if you have any questions also, or if anybody wants to chime in. Jose, I see you leaning into the computer. Maybe you want to say something, I don't know. But while anybody answers, I just want to say that I have always asked this question about why do I have such a hard time when people try to say something nice about me, or when they tell me that I'm talented. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I just connected it as you were speaking. I've been asking this question for years. I just connected it while you were talking.
Now, tell me what you're connecting.
I had to fake it for so many years, and I buried myself in my talents. I mean, to escape my loneliness in my childhood, in art, in singing, in dancing, in theater, in everything. And I became good at all of them. But I never could say that, because deep down inside, what I'm seeing today is that deep down inside, I felt that even that was me being a phony.
Yeah.
Because it was part of my pretense.
Yeah. And because it's beautiful, Gigi, beautiful. Because we didn't see ourselves as new creation. We just saw ourselves as people trying to get away with something, and that even this at its core was ugly. It's one of the reasons, you guys, affirmation is the currency of an environment of grace. Affirmation is the ability to tell you, like Gigi, what you just said, to be able to say, Gigi, I heard you today. Tell on yourself in such a magnificent, freeing way that will free others. And I watch you getting to experience that I wasn't a phony, that I really did those things out of some very pure, beautiful motives, and I never could enjoy it. And now I get to. That is sacred, kid. That is sacred stuff. So even a little bit now, just now, what is in Proverbs, let another's lips praise you. It's so that we run around with this, I hate myself, no, I need to be bragged on. And that's why a community gets to affirm each other. Godly affirmation, real affirmation, never puffs up, puffs up. It instead humbles our heart and causes us to want to do more of that for which we're being affirmed in the place that affirmed us. You hear that? It never puffs us up. Instead, it humbles our heart and it causes us to want to do more of that for which we're being affirmed in the community that affirmed us. It is such a beautiful, I think we're afraid of doing it because, well, it'll puff them up. Not anymore. Not these new creatures. At the real core of me, I don't want to, Gigi, when I told you anything about what you just said, your thought was not, well, how did the body of Christ exist before me? You didn't do any of that. It just humbled your heart, didn't it?
100%. And also I see that what happened at times where people would give accolades so that they could get away with what they needed. And I think there's a lot of people in this community that have been hurt because we've all been hurt.
Right.
And when praise and encouragement comes from a place of manipulation, we can buy it.
That's right. That's right. And so it's got to be honest affirmation, not that gives to give, not to get. I was thinking about this too with your environment. All of us, this is from Beau's Cafe, I believe, one of the books. All of us are awakening to the pain of realizing I can't control my life the way I thought I could. And I'm stuck with unresolved issues and things I'm trying to fix, all without the help of anyone else. And so we make a statement, what if there was a place so safe in my marriage, in my friendships, in my community? What if there was a place so safe that the very worst of me could be known? And I would discover that I would be loved more, not less, in the telling of it.
Beautiful.
Ooh, doggies. that changes everything, doesn't it? What if there was a place so safe that the worst of John Lynch could be known, and I would discover that you've been waiting for me to tell on myself so that you could love me? If love is the process of meeting needs, and it is, anything else is just Hallmark sentimentality. You never hear of Jesus in Scripture, the Father, you never hear of them talking about love without it doing something. So for God so loved the world that he gave. So if love is the process of meeting needs, all of us then have been created with limitations. Not as a bad thing. Why would God create me with limitation? And I have many of them. Oh, he has been so good to me. He created me with limitation so I could be loved by you. Isn't that crazy? If I have no limitation, you can't love me. You can respect me, you can admire me. But if I have no limitation, I have no need of you. You can't love me. You can say you love me, but love is the process of meeting needs. And so affirmation is one of those ways that I can meet a need. And it's interesting about affirmation, isn't it? It's only helpful if I believe, Lockie, that you are speaking words of affirmation into my heart. And I know you have the Spirit of God in you, and I believe your sincerity. If I trust you, then the words you say to me go into my heart as from God. Isn't that
Powerful.
powerful? The gift we have of trusted, non-manipulative affirmation. If only that, and I'm stealing into some teaching I was going to do later, or maybe even next week if I came. But oh, Gigi, that's a game changer, what you just expressed.
Thank you so much. And we have a few questions here. Marta raised her hand, and Marta, if you can go ahead, and which Marta happens to be my aunt who's in Colombia. So we call her Chumi. Chumi, you want to go ahead and ask?
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, John, Lackey, everyone. Love being here. I've been having several messages of grace, 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 grace. It sounds beautiful, but I still don't know what it is. There's a part of me that needs to understand the concepts, and I can't grasp the concept of grace. I can't. I don't know how to define it, or I probably have felt it, of course, but I can't. If I were to explain to anyone what grace is, I can't do it. I can't. I don't understand.
Thank you so much. I'm going to need to keep talking and keep teaching and keep thinking to be able to continue to express. I gave you some of my one-liners on grace, but it still needs more context to connect, doesn't it? I
think this is a big issue, John. And I mean, a lot of us know this. It's grace but, and what does grace look like? And yet when Paul spoke so much about grace in the epistles, we still struggle with grace. And you know, when you and me spoke in the last few weeks, you said a couple of things you were going to talk about. One of it was grace, but the other thing is also about liberation.
Yeah.
And grace is a huge subject. You know, in your talk today also you said about waiting for the other shoe to drop, you know. So many of us live that way, you know, waiting for the other shoe to drop, especially when things are going good. You know? You said, and I'm watching the chat, which is driving me absolutely bananas.
Yeah, I can't look at it. I just have to.
Don't even try. At my age, I get dizzy just with these pages on the Zoom thing, with the thing back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know how people do it, multitask. I used to be very good at it. Now I can only do one thing at a time.
No, I can't do one thing. I can start one thing. Let me come at this in a couple of ways that may be helpful, may be cumbersome. You'll just have to keep giving me feedback. When Jesus died on the cross, he not only took care of the issue of sin, he not only took care of that, but he gave me a new heart, that heart that is fused with him. And he says, John, you don't have to perform for me anymore. I adore you, and I cannot love you more, and I will not love you less. And it is an embracing of, are you kidding me? Am I a new creature? And this is the way I get to live. And grace is the most powerful thing. Romans 6:14 sounds like too big a promise. It's like, Paul, you didn't have to go that big. You could have moderated it. But he says, sin will not be master over you because you are no longer under law. And law is Law is you had better do this if you call yourself a believer. Law is, hey, this is how you're going to do that. You're going to do by rules, and then I'll be pleased with you. He says, sin will not be master over you because you're no longer under law, but you're under grace. You're under the realization that I don't have to perform for anybody, that I'm right on time, that to the exact extent that my Father loves me, Jesus says, so also I love you. And I get to receive that? I get to receive. And the sad corollary is sin will be master over you if you do not allow yourself grace. If you cannot trust that this is how Jesus sees you. So it breaks the power. I'm going to just read them quickly, some of them, but I want to stop on one or two. Grace ignites the power of my new identity in Christ. It neutralizes sin's power by freeing me from the law. I always use this illustration that the law says it's like walking in a park and seeing a sign that says don't walk on the grass. Well, I wasn't going to. Now that I see the sign, I will walk on that grass. I will spell the Lynch name out in dead grass. I will quit my job to kill this grass. I will walk on it that much. The law made a rebel out of me. And Jesus says, John, I dealt with it for you. There's no more sign anymore. You're free. You're free, kid. So it takes our hearts that were bound up in shame and the sense that I can't do enough. I'm never pleasing to God. And he says, John, nobody sees you that way anymore. Up here, you have no shame story. You have a Christ in you story of an adored child. Now, all that I just described, all of what Jesus Christ has done, this unmerited favor that I get to drink in, and it feels like I'm playing hooky. It feels like I'm getting away with stuff I shouldn't get away with. And he says, John, believe it. It will free you. You are that loved. You are that known. You are that. Scripture says, you are actually righteous. I made you righteous on your worst day. I didn't say you were mature, but you are actually righteous. Ephesians 4:20 says, you are holy. So it's not like we have to do these performance things to become more holy or more righteous. He says, you already are, child. So all of what we're just talking about, all of that love, all of that took place at the cross and resurrection, and the moment the church began, we got new hearts. And so for the first time, I can obey a command. All the time, commands used to cause me to rebel. And for the first time, Jesus says, I'm going to tell you one more thing to do, only one, and it will encapsulate everything. I want you to love one another. I want you to bear the burdens. I want you to stand with them. And now listen, instead of it causing me to run, instead of it causing me to rebel, I have this new heart, and the most real me wants to love. And so it doesn't cause me to rebel. Isn't that so beautiful? The only thing I'm going to ask of you is love each other.
I think that's where we struggle. Loving ourselves, loving each other. Giovanna and me, sometimes we say to each other, I used to be very angry. Maybe sometimes I still am, I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife and my children, but we see people very angry. It's because they're angry at themselves. And you said it. I mean, love. It's all connected. We're gonna get stuck, and we're gonna discuss this thing about grace. But you just answered everyone's question. At least you answered the question that it's about love, and that's where we you know, Giovanna has been saying for the last few weeks, people want to rather be what's the word?
Right.
No, the transactional rather than relational. You know, we can't accept this thing, grace, because we can't give it, rightfully or wrongfully so. I'm not judging anyone. I'm the same. I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about everybody else.
We still believe that God is mildly disgusted at us. We still believe we can have it for everybody else, but we still cannot believe that he could accept me exactly where I am. Because guys, I'm a mess. I just want you to hear that. And there isn't anybody that you know who isn't. I'm perfectly righteous, perfectly holy, but I'm still immature, and I am a lot of work. And God says, oh yeah, that's true, isn't it? And you are right on time. And nobody, here's what he says, nobody in the history of mankind have I loved more. Marta, nobody in the history of mankind have I loved more. And nothing that you can do can change that. And you say it's too good to be true.
That's the problem.
But when we say it's too good to be true, listen to what we're saying. Jesus, the power of the cross and resurrection was not powerful enough for me. It's all you have. At some point, you get to say, the cross and resurrection worked for me. And no longer is there some limit to God's patience or exasperation. I have to go back. How powerful was the cross and resurrection to actually not make me this miserable shrew or goofball or squid head or mutton head or any description that I would call myself, bad names. This man right here, John Lynch, the one you're looking at, I'm right on time.
That's a big, you see that?
Wow.
I think we need to realize that, John.
Absolutely. And you understand.
We're right on time. Everyone thinks we're not on time. And you know this thing about we're mildly disgusted with ourselves. If I'm honest, when I'm having a bad day, I'm mildly disgusted with myself. And I think this is it, about us being honest with ourselves, you know, I mean, and then that's where God, life, the world, the universe, whatever anyone wants to call it, and they can call it whatever they want, is there to help us when we can finally be honest with ourselves before we fall asleep, when we wake up in the middle of the night. You know, nothing's wrong, but something is not right. We're little bit mildly disgusted with ourselves, and it's okay. It's still right on time, you know? Exactly.
Would you mind if I just spend a couple of minutes telling a story about how each of us get to protect each other in this?
Okay, please go ahead. But John, also if you could speak a little louder or a little bit more into the mic, because
okay,
I want to hear this. Well.
Yeah, I probably should have had my AirPods in. Maybe after the break, I'll put my AirPods in. So we wrote the book, The Cure. And in about the 11th hour of that book, our publishers wanted to have some indifferent readers. That means they had people who didn't know anything about us, just read the book and just give a response to it. And it was great. It was really helpful just to make some last second changes. And so one day we're in our office going through the final comments by these indifferent readers, and I'm reading them, and we're writing down things in our computer. And then I come to this one card, and it says something to the effect of, I really learned a lot from the book, but it was terribly written. I'm the one who's written it. The characters were stupid, and whoever wrote it should take writing classes and then promise to never write again. And that was me. I'm the one who created the characters. I'm the one who wrote it, with the wisdom in Bill and Bruce, but I was the one who wrote it. He was talking about me. And I sat there, and in a moment, it all swept over me. I had to fake it for the next 20 minutes and just go through the rest of the cards. And then I went to my office, and I just went into this tailspin of, see, this is who you are. This is what you do. You're going to ruin Trueface. You try to write a book. You don't know how to write a book. You've never known how to do. You've done that all the way back to Little League. I was spinning out of control with my shame. And what I do is I got embarrassed. And this is John Lynch. When John Lynch gets embarrassed, I can only stay embarrassed so long, and then I have to blame someone. Someone has to pay, because John Lynch cannot be this lousy. And historically, Stacy would pay. I would pick a fight with her when I'd get home. If this had happened, I never could admit my embarrassment. So instead, I would hurt someone. And if not Stacy, then I'd pick a fight with the kids. Why? Hey, why? When are you going to make that, fix that? Or I would go to our church and our leaders. I would pick a fight with somebody. And that defined me for a long time, you guys. This day, on this particular day, Stacy, my wife, happened to call right when I was in the tailspin. She calls me and she says, hey, just call when you're going to go home for dinner. And I responded something like, I was, and she said, that didn't sound good. And I said, no, I'm fine. We're fine. I'm fine. We're fine. She said, you're not fine. What's wrong? Now listen, I love Stacy so much, but I had never trusted her all these years with this place, with my shame and embarrassment. For I was afraid if I didn't put my best foot forward, she would leave me. Why would I tell her bad things about me? She already thinks she made a bad choice probably in getting married. So I never told her. And all these years, she was trying to earn my trust so that I would trust her with my heart. And on this day, she said, my husband, you don't sound good. What's going on? And in that moment, I made a decision. I'm going to trust my wife with me. And I told her, honey, it was horrible. I was reading these cards and this guy was so mean, and he made fun of my writing, and it just humiliated me. And then I freaked out, and I've been sitting here at my desk and I don't know what. And she, having waited for this moment, she said, oh, my husband. First of all, because she's Stacy, she had to be funny. She said, I've always told you were a better speaker than a writer. I thought, oh, thank you so much. And then she said, I think this book, John, is going to change people's lives. And maybe if this person who was so unkind understood that you have lived out these truths that you've written about, he wouldn't have mocked you, that you have helped transform our family and our kids through learning these. Now, and then she said this to me, now come home. Come home. I've got you. I've got the twinkle lights set up in the backyard. I've got the fire going. I've got your favorite meal. I've got a glass of your favorite wine, or non-alcoholic beverage of your choice, whatever's comfortable. And she said, and when you come home, I will meet you out front and I will kiss you like a rabbit on shore leave. And I trusted her. And I came home. She knew my embarrassment. And I came home, I was shaking with fragileness. And she met me at the door and kissed me like a rabbit on shore leave. She sat down. I got to sit with my favorite meal. And I want to tell you something. This Irishman who comes from a long line of Irishmen who have gotten embarrassed and then hurt others. I want to tell you something. Nobody got hurt that night. And something changed in my family line.
Mm.
That what if there was a place so safe that the worst of me could be known, and I would discover that I would be loved more in the telling of it, not less. The ability for someone to tell, this is why affirmation is so important.
You
For
repeat that, John? What if there's a place so safe?
us, what if there was a place so safe that the worst of me could be known, and I would discover that I would be loved more, not less, in the telling of it.
Amen.
Because again, what we've just been talking about, if love is a process of meeting needs, now, Lockie, I've given you permission to love me, and I get loved by you. And if I keep it inside, if I tough it out, if I man it up or whatever it is that I do, it stays inside and festers until I have to blame someone else for what I think is so wrong in me. So if I have this safe community where others can say, I know who you are, and I'd love to hear your heart. I just want you to know I'm not afraid. I'm not disgusted. I can see Christ in you.
Mm.
Your community gets to do this. The frightened ones, we all still, and Jesus knows it. He still knows that shame still exists in us.
Yes.
That if you really knew me,
Right.
you might not want to know me. And that's maybe till the day I pass away. That's why I'm so fervent about teaching these truths and telling stories and painting pictures and trying to give theology on it, because sometime it breaks through. I preached, remember when I told you that story about me preaching with that voice? I was in an environment of grace, you guys. I showed up in an environment of grace. And in less than 3 years, I realized, John, you can live in vulnerability. This is who you are. And that place won me over. The community won me over, not by having exact right words, but just simply the environment of safety and trusted relationships. I believed that I was safe to be the real John Lynch. And I started getting to believe grace. So anybody who tells you that grace is an experience you get at a conference and you learn it and it's a one-time thing, just bag that, just run quickly from them. All I'm trying to do today is convince you that there's an old guy in Phoenix, Arizona, who is standing with you, who believes these things. And I'm trying to give you windows of new language or maybe less familiar language that gives you a chance to try on these new clothes of who you are. It doesn't go away. Just because you don't believe it's true, it doesn't go away. You
Doesn't make it not real.
That's right. You are his favorite, by the way. You just are. And to grasp that, are you kidding me? I am the apple of your eye, the desire of your heart. You think about me all day long. You never stop thinking about it. Psalm 139 says, he puts his hand on my heart and never lets it go. Never lets go of it. He says, you're enough. I do a message on, am I enough? Of how do I answer that? They're all by identity statements. Maybe I'll even do that next week if we have that opportunity to come next week. But that ability to be able to say, I'm not behind, I'm not in arrears. God is not disgusted with me. In fact, he thinks I've moved at an incredible pace because he doesn't look at my behavior compared to others. He looks at starting points. He knows I came out of this background with this insecurity, with this shame, with this weakness. And he just goes, hey, angels, come here for a second. Will you just come here? I want you to see Lynch. He is blowing my mind today. And is he funny or what? He's not only my God, he's my biggest fan. Is that just crazy talk? But it just happens to be biblical. It happens to be what God says is true. No longer God is ready to give you a backhand. This is really it. The resurrection of Christ is this powerful and this true. And the love of Jesus is this real and this true.
Thank you so much, John. And I know, Fran, you had raised your hand, and we're going to take your question at the end when we do our second Q&A. We're going to take this moment. I'd like to invite Giorgio and Gilbert to come forward.
Thank you, Gigi. Good morning, everybody.
Giorgio,
Giorgio,
hold on.
yes.
Giorgio, wait. So just before you start, thank you, Giorgito. Thank you, Gigi. John, thank you so much. I think many of you might know who Wayne Dyer is. And,
Yes.
Wayne Dyer?
Yes.
Oh, Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer.
All right.
And there was this lady that wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. And though she's not Christian, he said when he forwarded the book, he said, you put an exclamation mark to my work.
Oh, so good.
Exclamation mark to everything I do. And I'm hearing you and you're talking, and it's like I'm speechless. And it's so simple, yet we get so complicated and we make it so complicated. But as I'm listening to you, I want to tell you that you are putting an exclamation mark to Hope4Life with what you're saying.
And I've watched some of your videos. Lucky told me where on YouTube I could find it, and I watched some of your videos and I went, these are my people. You guys are living. Paul said to me, John, I'm telling you, they're going to be more of a gift to you than you are to them. Because for me to know that there are communities that I didn't know about that are risking this, it's sacred. And there are some sitting there today in your audience who are going, I don't believe this yet. I don't know this yet. But they get to watch us believe this, and us to struggle with it, and us to not try to impress anyone with it. And for me to show you my failures and my goof ups, that what we're getting to do is very sacred, you guys. I'm so proud to be here.
Yeah, and I think we get a lot of this all the time. The fact that sometimes we see June 13 is going to be 5 years since we opened our doors. And in 5 years, we've had people that are here for 5 years, 3 years. And some of them are stuck. And what it seems in everyone's eyes, oh, wow, they hardly done anything. And then all of a sudden they see someone else that speeds up. And, you know, we never, one of our things is, no, it's okay. They're going to get it one day. As long as they keep coming, I know eventually they will get it. And whenever, even after 3 years, 4 years, all of a sudden we see that text that all of a sudden they go, aha, today I walked in and my daughter received me. For the first time, I had a conversation with my daughter. For the first time, I was able to open up. I mean, it's like, it's okay if it takes for some 3, for some 6. And what you just said, for the Father, for God, he's always looking at us and he's going like, oh my God, look what they're doing.
And even for us, when he says, Jesus says, I want you to love one another, then Paul picks it up. remember in Galatians 6:2, and he says, now, bear one another's burdens. And when you do that, you fulfill the one thing Jesus asked you to do. Isn't that so good? The one command he has. And all that is, that Galatians 6:2.
No. And what's the greatest commandment?
Bear one another's burdens.
Burdens.
And when you do that, you fulfill the one command that he says in John 13:34. Love one another. So, and that simply means exactly what you're saying. Stay close. Draw closer when they fail. Draw closer when others fail. I mean, if you'd given up on me from the first day I walked into Open Door and started preaching as a moralist, legalist, buck up guy, you would have given up on me if you had not done that. But I think they must have had a meeting and said, well, he is kind of funny. Maybe this environment will help him. And 3 years later, one Sunday morning, I got into the pulpit and I had just been reading a book by Brennan Manning, Ragamuffin.
The Three Longing of God?
He hasn't read that one yet. Ragamuffin Gospel.
Well, the Ragamuffin Gospel just blew me away. From word one, from when he talked about people whose cheese falls off their cracker. And I was going through Ephesians chapter 1 and 2, and I just looked at my audience. Gosh, I want to read about it. Maybe I will after the break. Let me read it.
So Giorgio, go ahead.
And I just on that day realized we're not in Kansas anymore, and you guys are going to have to help teach me, because I don't know what I'm talking about yet with this grace. But that was 3 years that a community had to love me so that I could one day protect it.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Lucky and Giovanna. This is amazing. John, you know, you were talking about, we've been talking about all morning about grace. And you read probably my favorite verse on the Bible, of the limited amount of Bible I've read, which is not much, but it's Psalm 139, you know, but it has been symbolized, Psalm 139, because when it was read to me in shame. Because there's a part of Psalm 139 that talks about how God is in every nook and cranny of our lives.
Yes.
And that was cited to me in a moment of confession as to some of my biggest transgressions that I had for the first time brought up to the surface. And when that verse was recited to me, it was a reaction to the understanding of the transgressions that I had gone through in my life. So it didn't feel very good. It actually felt shameful. I felt shamed, you know?
Yeah.
And today, after 8 years of walking with my father and understanding what it means to be loved, 100% regardless, that verse has been symbolized. So when he's in every nook and cranny, he is looking after me in every nook and cranny of my life.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of questions about what grace means. And to me, today, grace is the understanding of the depth of his love. You know, the more that I understand, the more that I get how much I am loved regardless, the more that I am able to receive the grace out of conviction. The more conviction that I have, the more grace that I am able to receive. And that is the amazing part of this whole bit. And I want to read a little bit of, you know, talk about shameless promotion. If you don't mind, Lynch, I just want to read a little bit of what you have written. And you say that on my worst day, and this is the title of the book, and on page 62, you say, on my worst day, I am adored, enjoyed, clean, righteous, absolutely forgiven, new, acceptable, complete, chosen, able, intimately loved, smiled upon, planned for, protected, continually thought about, enjoyed, cared for, comforted, understood, known completely, given all mercy, compassion, guarded, matured, bragged on, defended, valued, esteemed, defended. That has been a huge shortcoming in my life. I never felt defended. Guided continually, never failed, waited for, anticipated, and you go on and on and on. This is grace. This, I mean, I don't think I need to read the rest of your book. I can stop at page 62 and I feel love for the rest of my life and understand the true meaning of grace just by reading that paragraph. Understanding that it is the depth, understanding the depth of His love. And it all came about for me when I reached the end of my rope. Sorry about the cliche. And when I had nowhere else to turn to, I went to the place that I rejected the most. God, Christ, the cross, all these things. And it was through a community that accepted me for who I was, because it was the only place where I was able to actually be myself in all shame. Because the shame comes up the first time all these things came out. And it was the way that I was embraced, the way that I was accepted, the way that I was cared for, the way that I was defended, that has made the difference in my life. It hasn't been anything else. Of course, Hope4Life is a community that has helped me, usher me into the path of Christ and the path of God, understanding that I want to be a son and that I want to do the right thing. Not because I have to, like you mentioned, but because I'm developing the heart that wants to do it right. And this is where I've learned and where I continue to learn all these things.
Yeah.
We don't find places like this. I haven't anyways, where my life can actually be transformed in the understanding of Father's love. Before I can get the understanding of grace, I need to understand the extent of the love that my Father has for me, and letting that love come through. Understanding that is the only way that I am going to move forward in my life on the new path. Understanding the Father's love. And not looking at to what is in front of me, so that I can be able to judge and then be grateful or be resentful to God. It's the other way around. And this is the place, guys. Everybody here. I mean, I'm sure that, I'm not the only one that has been just, I don't know what adjective to use, because this is ineffable what I am feeling. I started wanting to cry when I heard you talk about your experience in the wagon. And now, I have joy, but it's being expressed also in an overwhelming sensation to cry as well. So, very thin line between the two, but understanding where the Father love resides in my heart gives it a big gap between the two, a clear understanding of the emotions going on through me, So I thank you for doing this. And guys, we all here for free. Yes, you didn't have to pay a penny. You're absolutely right. It was for free. But it did not come for free. This came all at a price. The whole setup, all these people being here today, all of this has a cost. All of this has a value also for most of us. And that value is what makes us want to give or not give, right? When we go to a store and we see the value of the product that we want to buy, if we think it has a good value, we think it's good for the money, we'll pay it, whatever it is. So let's take it away from the brain and put it in the heart. When you're looking at this and it's going from the brain into your heart, what is the value that your heart is putting into what you're listening today? To me, this is priceless. This is invaluable in the same measure that it is priceless. We have people here that come in, and even though they're being told that they do not know how to write, by the way, John, I've met plenty of people that have impeccable diction and have nothing to say. So, dude, you have so much to say just on page 62, So, on for you, my friend. And the same thing for the rest of us, What is the value that we put on the things that we're receiving?
Giorgio, you just affirmed him.
Say what?
You just affirmed him.
I
Okay.
have not been
There you go.
in a long time. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, imagine me affirming John. No, so,
That's it.
so anyway,
That's it.
you know, the point is, and thank you, Giovanna. The point is that I believe in this community. You know, I'm surrounded by love. I've never been surrounded by unconditional love. Everybody in this community that is part of the Hope for Life community that gathers every single weekend, we're not able to these days, but they all know me for real, for who I am. No masks, no pretensions, nothing. It's just who I am. And that has liberated me. That has, you know, made me feel like I have never felt before. How do I feel? I feel joyous, independent of the strife.
Now,
I don't know that anybody else can understand this. I think that John can. He's just giving me, you know, but you know, it's amazing to feel that way.
and what you are experiencing, you'll never be able to go back from. Even if Lockie one day says, "Ah, we don't believe this anymore," and they just say, you'll just say, "I feel so sad for you, but I have to keep going. I can't live
Yeah.
any other way."
You're absolutely right. And you know, this is the thing. You know, it all started here at Hope for Life. I was exposed to all these revelations, all these statements, all these truisms that applied to my life, and I was taught not on rules and regulations, but on conviction. What is going on? What was going on in my life? So, you know, I ask you to look at your heart and put a value on all this that is being put forward for us, for our benefit, and give. You know, what is the value? What is that? Is this is something that you're getting something out of? Yes? No? This is for us, for all of us here. So,
Giorgio, do you need me to share the screen or is Gilbert going to share the screen?
well, I think Gilbert is going to add something in a little bit, but I figured, can everybody see this screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the ways that you can show what value you're putting into what you're listening and what you have been listening for the past few weeks. You know, we continue to pay the rent in the place where we actually gather every single weekend. They don't care that there's a pandemic going on. You know, they want their rent money, and we comply. But you know, things keep going. Life keeps going. So these are the ways that you can pay. You can do text by Kindred, by PayPal, by Cash App. All the information is on the screen. And if you want to mail an envelope, please do so. You know, snail mail still works. Hope for Life, and you have the address and the zip code there. I thank you ahead of time, and I want to bring in Gilbert. He wants to say something real quick for us. John, thank you for all of this.
Thank you.
This has been amazing. It continues to be. I can't wait for the rest. I know we don't have too much time, so I want to pass it on to Gilbert real quick. Gilbert, are you there?
You blessed me so much, friend. Thank you. Golly.
Yes, I'm here. I wanted to share my screen, but Gigi, it says I'm disabled from sharing it. But hi, I'm Gilbert. I've been coming to Hope for Life since January, so it's going to be almost 6 months, and the changes that have happened to me in this minuscule amount of time, for me, for my wife, and just a couple days ago with my sister, and then this is new, but I'm not going to go into too much. But last night, even my 19-year-old son, I had this amazing and massive breakthrough, and it doesn't feel like it makes any human brain sense in how it all works. But then again, you know, Hebrews 11:1, it talks about how faith is the assurance, and it goes into about faith. But what I liked towards the end of it, it says that faith comprehends as fact what cannot be experienced by the physical senses. So when I read that, and I think that a lot of the stuff that's been happening, it doesn't make sense all the way, I'm okay with that, because I have an assurance that I don't have to understand it all the way. But on that note, I wanted to share this. And on this screen, I'm going to go into it in a second here, but basically one of the things that, since I've been coming to Hope for Life, I've been learning so many things, and one of them that really hit me a lot, and I've read the verse so many times in the past, about Malachi 4:6, where he says he'll turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the hearts of the children to their fathers, you know, a reconciliation that's produced by repentance. And when I hear that, and I'm at first, you know, I used to hear that and read that, and I was like, it doesn't really necessarily feel completely real, but it already started to, in just the small amount of time that I've been learning so much stuff coming here and hearing people open their hearts and be vulnerable. And it really has caused like a effect where I want to be also. I've been comfortable by just because of the love that I've been getting. And I'm here talking to you guys today because I want to be here, because I believe that God is working miracles in a way that is incomprehensible to my brain, but apparently it's a language that my spirit recognizes and is bringing me closer to him. And I want that for me. I want that for my whole family, and I want that for everybody who's in pain, and I want that for everybody that's here today, you know. And that's the reason why I'm showing this little puzzle thing here, because something that God gave me a long time ago, but I didn't completely all the way get it all the way, and it's been real several times in my life, but I call it full circle. So if you take these numbers, and this is what God gave me for me, but I wanted to share it. If you take these numbers and you append, let's say that 30, you know, the last number is the end goal, you know, and that's this thing that God wants for me. I know that I may not see that until the end that it's supposed to be. But the thing is, along the way, there's all these things that have to happen. And then there's been things that have happened, these traumas, these wounds, these hurts. And I can put a number to each one of those. And in this puzzle game, if anybody remembers this puzzle, I don't know, I had it when I was little. It would be in my...
I did.
It's very frustrating.
It is. But God showed me that the way that he has been doing things for a lot of people, for me, the way he does things is, we don't understand it. You can have this thing jumbled up, and you can put an incident of your life, a trauma to your life, to any of these numbers. And the thing is, they get all jumbled up. The numbers are jumbled up because the way that we see it, we expect things to be so linear, and the way things are, and we try to think that this is, you know, the way we think is how God thinks. And what I finally understood is I can't make heads or tails. I can't completely make sense of it, what's been happening here at Hope for Life. But same way that this number puzzle has been significant for me is that the things that happen don't happen in the order you expect, because we can't think the way God thinks. And this number puzzle for me, always representing when God gave me this, is that the things are going to happen and I'm going to go through these traumas, but towards the end, I am going to make it to the end goal. It's just about having the faith to sit through all these and like I've been learning here, hug the cactus and go through and do the hard work. And for me, on one of these numbers here, Hope for Life, somehow when I was on the puzzle, it shifted into the right spot. And I've been coming here and I've been learning so much stuff. And I'm not one to put any man on a pedestal. And anybody who does get to know me knows that. First, because I believe that that's God's place, but more realistically because of church wounds and trauma that I've endured.
Yeah.
But the Bible tells me in Proverbs 3:27, do not withhold good from those whom it is due. It's rightful recipients when it is in your power to do it. And I like the amplified version. That's just me. But when I read that and I see what Giovanna and Laki are tirelessly doing at Hope for Life, I feel that it's something that is worth supporting. Because I see it making these changes in just the minuscule amount of time. I see the changes. I see what's happening in my life. I see what's happening in my son's life and people around me, the people who are talking. I see the changes happening. And even though it may be hard because I'm stuck on number 16 or 22 and I'm seeing another number somewhere else of what's happening in my life, I know that in the end, God straightens it out. And last, what I want to say is that, you know, this means that I've been learning now what it means to leave the childish things behind. I thought it was like, you know, you're a kid and you grow up. But honestly, when we've been talking about how all these things are from our childhood and we're still acting on our childhood, I'm understanding now that this is part of leaving those things behind. But it's not something I can just do like in the snap of my finger. I know that it takes this process, the love that I'm receiving from my new community and everybody here. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys today and just say, you know, I believe that this is something that's if you give it a shot and you really are working on it, and everybody's at a different pace, like Giovanna said, you can't expect it to be just like somebody is zooming and you're like, wait a minute, I've been here so long and it hasn't. God works with us differently, and those puzzle pieces all shift differently. So,
Thank you so much, Gilbert. This was absolutely beautiful. What a great visual you have given us. We love you, Gilbert. And the more we know about you and the more you share about your story, truly, I told you last week, the more I love you.
Giorgio, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Gilbert. That was wonderful.
And also, we wanted to thank everyone that has been giving. And like I said earlier, June 13 is going to be 5 years. Where Lucky and I started this, we started with 0. Just a yes. And when we said yes to the Lord, or we felt, okay, we got to do this. And I remember the day when I said, yes, okay, Lord, we say yes today. Yes to what? I don't know. To whom? I have no idea. Where? We have no clue. Nobody was inviting us to do anything. This was just us in our living room saying yes. There was no thunder, no lightning. The ground didn't shake. There was not a voice from heaven. But here we are, and this is amazing. Every time I see it, I cannot even hold it in. I cannot even contain it. I don't think there's nothing big enough inside of me that can contain all this. And it has been your generosity, your love, and your support. And this has been amazing. So I wanted to say thank you. I know some of you have been mailing checks, Susan. So well received. I just want to, maybe you're wondering, do they get it? Yes, we got it. Thank you so much, everyone. Sarah Beatty also, thank you. George Isa, thank you. And everyone that supports and helps the doors of Hope for Life to be open. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So I think before we continue, how about if everyone just stands up a little bit? Stand up, get up, just do a little stretch.
Breathe.
Breathe, stretch, do something. And from Miami, how about Giorgio said, Giorgio, you said, and you said, actually, this is me not sitting, I'm standing up, so.
I won't stand up. I'll stay seated, darling.
Thank you, Lucky.
Make sure you're taller than.
Thank you. You said about how you felt when John was sharing about his story in the wagons, you know? And but I was really touched and moved, and we hear stories like this all the time. And I think the beauty of it is that I have never found myself not being moved or touched or by all these stories and every individual. So how about it from Miami, we give him a big hug, all of us, right now. This is for you.
Oh, thank you, dear ones.
Oh, hug. Yeah, I'll hug you, darling. I'll hug you.
Oh, God.
Oh, she's envious.
Yay!
Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing and for
Go back to your place. Go back to your booth.
I tell people when they share their stories, I feel like I enter a holy ground, a holy space. And thank you for allowing us to enter into your holy space and sharing it with us. So it's all yours. Thank you.
Well, I just, thank you. Thank you. Giorgio, you just don't know. You just don't know what you're describing. I've never seen you before. I don't know you. You're in another part of the world, and you are articulating this grace, this identity in Christ. It is marvelous. Gilbert, same. How beautiful what you are articulating, this hope that you can't see, in the middle of stuff that makes no sense yet. And yet you can't turn back. You can't stop trusting. And both of you by the way, what am I doing teaching? You've got these guys. What a beautiful, beautiful truths. But did you hear what they did? The language, the currency of love is affirmation. And I watched Gilbert, I watched you do it. Giorgio, I watched you do it. I've watched Gigi do it. I've watched all of you guys do it. There hasn't been one person who's spoken who hasn't given affirmation to each other, because we can't help it. We just want so much for God's voice to go through us with sincerity and integrity and give something that can be heard. And even as you're doing it with me, I know my response was, oh God, I want to do more of this. I never want to stop. I want to thank you, God. Let me do this for the community that just blessed me. I loved also what you said, that for you, so many of us have been taught, love God, love God, love God, love God. You've got to love God more. If you only love God more, then things would be better. You've got to love God more. Get in there and show him that you love him. I mean, really now, if you really want good things to happen to your life, you'll let God know that you show him you love him. How are you going to show him you love him today?
Pray more, fast more.
Yeah, that's right. And what for so long nobody was teaching, or very few, Brennan and 9 others, is
Brennan and 9 others?
Brennan Manning, yeah.
Can you send me the list of the 9 others, please, later, privately?
Yeah, yes.
I'd like to read that. Brennan, I know, I've read all his stuff. I love his stuff.
He is the man. I got to spend now I'm just name dropping. But what no one was teaching was what God wants most is for you to allow him to love you.
Amen. Please say that again louder.
Yes. He is less interested in you trying to love him more than he is in you letting him love you. That is, guys, if we could understand that, and Giorgio just taught it like better than I think I may ever teach it.
So Giorgio can travel with you in the future.
Yeah, I will carry his baggage now. Yeah. that is and it's the scary one. It's easier, isn't it, to try to love him more, because I can do Bible studies, I can show up at events, I can do good things. I can more easily try to prove to him that I love him enough. But to allow him to love me, now think about what I just said about how long, in that story I told about Stacy, how long it took me to trust Stacy with the deepest things of my heart. And as any parent with my children, if they all day long said, Dad, I really love you. Just want to let you know I love you. I'm washing the car because I love you. That would be okay. And after some point I'd go, hey, knock it off, will you? But if they said, Dad, I'm letting you in. I need you in this area. I need your protection. I just need to know how much you love me, and I just want to receive it and trust you in it. What would be more fulfilling than that? Oh my gosh. So if we can just dial in that one thought, that it's less important to try to love God than it is to receive his love. He first loved us so that we would get to love. He poured it in us, and we will find ourselves as an automatic course that we can't help but express our love to him and want to glorify him. We just can't help it. So I wanted to respond to that because I love that. Lucky, if you have me next week, if that's a possibility. I don't even know that has been talked about. But next week, I would like to talk about, one, the power of story and why we tell story. And then secondly, I would like to, how that develops trust. Secondly, I'd like to talk about this in community. I'd like to talk about what this looks like lived out in protection and permission, and how has a community been able to protect this man's heart and let this man's heart become free, and how to keep me from internalizing my shame. So I think, if that makes sense, if you have something else that you want me to teach on, I'm always wide open. But the rest of our time, I'm just calling audibles at the line of scrimmage every second. But as I listen to you guys, especially Gilbert, I felt like I want to say some statements about, it's hard to trust someone that we don't understand why he does what he does. And so I wanted to make some statements about God, how he sees you, what he's doing in your life, and maybe we can just ruminate on those for a second, and maybe then we can have some question and answer, and I won't go much longer then.
John, I did reply Jen's email, and as far as I know, and as far as I'm concerned, you are on next Saturday.
Yay!
I'll be funnier. I'll dress better. I'll get a nicer shirt. I
Oh,
promise.
fix your hair though.
Yeah, the hair.
I put like oil in it, whatever that stuff is. Nothing works.
Yeah, I put this stuff in my hair and it works.
Yeah,
it disappears. It looks like it's not even there.
Gilbert's doing that with his. Yeah, we're not going anywhere good. Let me say, I want to say some statements about what he's doing in the storm, and then some statements about when you might not feel loved, and then maybe if we have time, we can ask some questions. But I'll soon let us out of here, and I think I'm good to come back. So that would be. This first statement is, I want to say it again. This is God's statement, coalesced from the New Testament, from the Gospels, from what he did on the cross and the resurrection. You are as precious to me as any living creature at this moment. You don't know what I did yesterday. You are as precious to me as any living creature at this very moment. His love is washed upon you, independent of anything you can do. He just uniquely said, I want to love Gilbert. I want to love Gigi with everything in my being. And it's astonishing to me. And he says, yes, down the road, the outcome is going to be an obedient-hearted obedience from the heart that comes from trust. Second statement I wanted to make is especially important for me in this season. To fix everything is not to care for you. To give you what you envy of others is not to love you well, but to leave you unhealthy. To heal every infirmity will never allow you to learn dependence upon him or enter into compassion for others. It will never satisfy your heart or allow his glory to be revealed into you. The best life, the greatest life, is not the pristine life, or the fully satiated life, the fixed life, the neatly ordered life. The best life is the real one, with God receiving glory as you trust him, enjoy him and others, amidst the beauty and the rubble.
Wow. That number 2 is
Wow.
very good. Can you repeat that number 2? Where is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm reaching from a number of papers, but let me tell you that I can send you a hard copy of any of these things, and you're going to have to pour through and see what's valuable and what's not. But I'll be glad to send you guys any of this so that you don't have to worry about did I get that thing written down right?
The number 2, I think, is where at least, I mean, a lot of people are living.
The best life, the greatest life, is not the pristine life, the fully satiated life, the fixed life, the neatly ordered life. The best life is the real one, with God receiving glory as you trust him, enjoy him and others amidst the beauty and the rubble. And now here's Romans 8:28, which blows my mind. If Romans 8:28 is not in scripture, I'm a mess, but it is. And so I make this next statement. So God refashions all the evil on this planet, which hits every one of us, and actually employs it to move us to maturity and give us an even better life than if it had never happened. I cause all things to work together. Not all things are good. Some things are sick, hideous, chronic. But I cause all things somehow, in some way, in some time, to work together for good for you, kid. I love you so much. I won't stop everything, but I will refashion it into something beyond your wildest dreams. I don't even get what I just said, but I know I've experienced it, and I'm hearing you guys say that you've experienced. And then I love this statement, and then I'm going to go into the love of Jesus statements. God says, do you know that? God says, I wanted and want an exact you for this exact time in human history. I waited from before the world began. I said, and now, for this group of people, Giorgio is perfectly timed. He says, I wanted and want an exact you for this exact time in human history, for those I've prepared for you. There are no crowd fillers. There are no people that are just background. I love you for exactly who I made you to be. I love the one I created exactly as you were created. Yes, yes, your response to the fall has created patterns, family history, etc. But it can't undo the person I delighted in creating. Nothing about you was a mistake. And those things you dislike in your physical imperfections and bents and personality, even those I will use wonderfully. And then I'm going to finish with these, and then we can talk a little bit more. I just want to finish with these statements about love. In a season like this, it can feel like, God, I'm depressed, I'm hurting, I don't get what, I'm scared. Like I went out on a bike ride the other night, and I had to admit, I feel alone. Something about this, if I allow myself to enter into it, this whole virus and not being able to hold each other and hug each other and stand with each other, that just freaked me out. So I made this statement: loss of a present sense of God's love is not loss of that love itself. Loss of a present sense of God's love is not loss of that love itself. In a love relationship, It is formed most deeply not when you are on your game, but when you can't seem to make sense of almost anything. A love relationship is formed most deeply not when you are on your game, but when you can't seem to make sense of almost anything. Next statement. Nothing will ever heal because you try to get more holy or righteous.
Can you say that again, please?
Nothing will ever heal because you try to get more holy or righteous. You are as already as righteous and holy as you will ever be. Next statement. The love of Jesus is never, never being withheld from you. He is loving you with all he is every moment of every day. Next statement. He is not angry or disappointed when you can't feel his affection. It is not a proof that he is angry or disappointed. He is never, ever disgusted with you. Period. Hard stop. Jesus enters into the center of whatever is happening to you and experiences it along with you. They used to say, I used to hear people say, Jesus is there in the room when that horrible thing happened. That helps me not at all. But Jesus instead, and I don't know how he does this. I don't know how he can go to a fourth grader's birthday party and laugh and sing and still stand in the arena with me as I'm going through this most hideous thing. And he says, I got you. I'll stand over you when you can't stand. And I will experience everything that you are experiencing to the exact level that you are experiencing it. I promise that. And he chooses to wear your fragility, your pain, and undiagnosed sadness. And the last one, Jesus, he has known of whatever condition you hate in yourself, and he has known about it from before the world began. He went to the cross so he could be endlessly close to you, even if that thing that you hate never improves. Even if that thing you hate never improves, his love is independent of your improvement. It is the real you he loves, not who you think you should be.
Wow.
And I think I want to stop there, you guys. I think those are pretty thick, dense thoughts, but they help me so much. I have to come back to these in this season, especially when life is not going the way I thought he was going to move it. And so I'll send you those. So don't even worry about any of those being written down. But I think I'd like our time to end by you guys having a little bit of time to be able to say, not even a question or a disagreement, but tell me, it's so important for me and so important for us in a learning process to say, what did you hear me say today? And I don't know how you guys can do that to where you can open up mics to where individuals can do that, but I'd love to have you say, just tell me, what are you hearing me say that is striking you as not first time, but maybe awakening something or encouraging something or agreeing with something. Gosh, to hear Giorgio, I just went, man, I'm not teaching you a thing new. This is where you've been. But tell me, what are you hearing? Is that okay? That's
Fran,
What's that? Gigi, what are you saying?
So John, you're going to send me, you have my email, you can send me what you want to share with everyone. And I wanted to invite everyone who's here to go ahead and send me your email through the chat, because I will make sure that I can send this out on our newsletter that goes out on Thursday morning. So please, if you want to receive the things that John is going to share with us, please go ahead, find me in the chat under Gigi and send me your email address so I can add you to our MailChimp and we can go ahead and make sure you receive this. So everyone is able to unmute yourselves and speak.
Right.
We'd like to start with Fran, who's been waiting for very patiently.
Thank you.
Fran, thank you. Fran Marchant, thank you so much for your patience. And
You're welcome.
everyone, like John said, please, it's not a matter of like questions, but what are you hearing? What are you receiving from God as he's speaking? And I know also Sammy has been waiting very patiently. So go ahead, Fran.
You're muted.
Volume's off.
Yeah, muted. You're muted, Fran. Fran, you're muted. Oh, okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm a friend of Anna Guerra's. She's invited me now for the last about 6 to 8 weeks, I guess. I've been coming on and off. But what I wanted to share with John was that, and I was asking this question a while ago, but I think you answered it. So I wanted to share that with you. So, at first I always had this problem thinking that I wasn't worthy.
Yeah.
And then when I thought about being not worthy, then it's like I'm putting myself above God, because you just confirmed that, he died on the cross, and if he loves me that much, I'm worthy of that love.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one thing. But then, you were saying God is love, loves me, God is in me. And then in my humanness, how do I show his love to others? So I think through your conversation, you shared with us about how just to be yourself, and in your shame and in your everything that you are, and not to be fake, and just to trust that God has got your back.
Yes.
So I wanted to kind of share that confirmation that, and I think one thing you just hit on, crowd fillers. Something hit me with that. And I think what that is that we look at people, especially when you're in ministries and you see a lot of people that are here, and it's so hard to get to everybody, and you don't have time for everybody, and you kind of see them off in a distance. And when you said that, it just kind of hit me to the point where there are those people that are shy and they can't speak, and I think it's our calling to go to them and to just show them God's love. So
good.
So I just wanted to confirm that to you, that I feel it.
Amen. Well said, my friend.
Thank you.
Can I say something, because Fran is so dear to me? And,
Don't cry, Anna. Don't cry, Anna.
I'm a mush. I know that.
Yeah.
But Fran seeks out those crowd fillers. But she believes she's a crowd filler too.
Oh, that's true.
So,
Today I did. Today
I just wanna call to your attention, because I constantly remind Fran how beautiful she is and how much love she has. I mean, she has shown me love that I have rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And then she still loves me,
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've been Hope4Life, I no longer reject her love. And she loved me when I didn't love myself. And so, again, Fran, just be yourself.
Yeah,
Believe.
but because in our humanness, I think our humanness puts fear and puts all these doubts in ourselves. And then how do we show that love? And the lady that talked from Colombia, talked about grace, and how, I kind of feel that grace is you know, like Paul Young shared with us, right now I'm on a Paul Young high. I don't know, you know, ever since Paul Young, I've been watching Restoring.
It's not a bad high. Yeah.
I'm watching Restoring His Shack. I can't even watch one. I have to like watch it repeatedly because he just has such a great message. But I mean, the grace, how he talks about not worrying, you know, future tripping, how we sit here and we try to think about tomorrow. Let's stay in his presence, in his grace today, right now. We are in his grace right now, and that's his presence, and that's the love. And so for her to not understand grace, just think of it as being that he's here, he's with you, he's present in your life, and that's his grace, and that's the love. So
I love it, and I love what's being said, and what you're responding to. When we see ourselves as crowd fillers, it's because sometimes we don't know who we are yet, and we still have this sense of self-loathing. And so why would anyone want to be with me? Nobody needs me. I will watch the great people do it. But the more you realize who you are and how much he adores you, and that he's actually created you with an intended message, purpose, something about the way you speak, something about the way you look at life is uniquely crafted in the womb by him. And the more free you get in believing that that could be true, that he has created you beautifully, then you start going, okay, so who is it around me that I get to love? Who is it around me that might
loves me,
who might want to love me and want to be known? And it starts to expand your world. It starts to free up your world in believing that.
And I'm sorry, just one more thing, John. I wanted to say that, you know, Hope for Life is something out of my normal. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I feel that, you know, God has put me in that place for a reason. And like you said, you know, he picked me right here, right now. And I feel that's very important for me to continue that journey, regardless on where I receive my normal.
Fran, that's great. And my heroes are mostly Catholic. You know, Brennan is a Catholic. Henri Nouwen is a Catholic, and a whole bunch others. It's beautiful. What I see here is the merging of a lot of faith and from different traditions, and that's sacred. Gosh, whenever we make the tent smaller, it's less sacred. The larger that tent that you guys are choosing to let this be is beautiful. Beautiful, friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fran. I know Sammy had some comments, and Jose and Carolina. So,
Sammy, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sammy.
Okay. Hi everybody. I'm very new to Hope for Life, but the things that I heard today was that God is not mildly dismayed or, you know, disdained with me.
Yes.
I heard, and I'm trying to receive how Jesus says, to the exact extent that the Father loves him, so he also loves me.
Yeah.
What I'm having, when you said who I am is not a shame-based identity, because once I gave myself to Christ, I became a shame-free creature. So I right now I know that that is truth, but I don't believe it yet. But and
beautiful.
Yeah, I really like what Fran said about the crowd fillers. That really stood out to me as well.
You got a lot just in your listening. If you, I'm just proud of you. Just want to say that. And secondly, is that maybe the most astounding statement in Scripture. To the exact extent that my Father loves me, Jesus talking, so also I love you, individually and uniquely. But it's like, if I got a hold of that, if I really grab a hold of it, I might fall down and not be able to get up. It would so undo. Could that really be true? And he says it is. And so
Right.
and I love what you said on that third one about the shame-free identity. I think I'm hearing you say, I believe it, but I don't know how to experience it yet. I believe that he doesn't see me that way anymore. And that is not my core of my being. The core of my being is invaded, knit with, fused with the God of the universe. He's not up there and me, loser saint, down here. Loser, loser, loser. God, good God, bad John. He decided to come inside me. So the most real me is Christ in me. Every single day. On my worst day, the most real me is Christ in me. And so, can that be true? Was the cross and resurrection that powerful that he was able to do that? Okay, I'm going, and all he cares about is fragilely, clumsily, you daring to risk to trust that. That's all he cares about. You don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to do anything better. If I'll just embrace that and believe that, everything I see walking out of that begins to be painted differently. If I still see myself because I did this wrong, I failed here for 4 years, I want this, and then I did this. If I live in that as though God lives in that, I'll see the world a different way. I'll see it colored in a much different way. So I think what you're saying is so profound for us all. I want to believe that, but I'm still getting there of being able to trust that that could be true. That's a sacred thing for you to say.
Thank you so much, Sam. And I'm very proud that you finally decided to come to Hope4Life. Next we have Jose. I call him Giuseppe.
Grazie, Gigi, grazie. No, John, the first thing I want to do is thank you for so much wisdom. Your life, your experience, what you're teaching us is something that we need to hear again and again and again. And we have been living this for years now in this community, but we need to hear it again. The first thing that came to mind is when you said that God loves us as much as he loves Jesus. And if you look at the Trinity, you're actually saying that God loves us as much as he loves himself. Because if he loves us as much as he loves the Son, then he must love us as much as he loves the Father. And that is a realization that I cannot barely conceive. That he can love me as much as he can love himself.
Is that crazy? He longed and longed for there to be.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to comment about is that what we see at Hope4Life is that when people are going through crisis and struggles, it's not a teaching and it's not a formula. And grace is very difficult to reach and to touch. And what we need is ourselves. We need the group. We need each other. We need each other to hold us up and to help us through, because we don't see it. When we're down and out, we don't see it. We just see our misery. We just see our struggles. We don't see a door. We don't see the way out. And that's when we need to open up and share, and we have each other. We have the group. And this is something that I've been learning and I've been noticing, and we all constantly need each other. We constantly need to be there for each other. And the last thing I wanted to share is when you said that you heard God after you gave a teaching, you heard God saying, "You let me down." You know, there are times when we're good, but there are times when we're not good. And then we have a voice in the back of our head that's saying to us, "You're letting me down." We talk to ourselves, "Oh, poor little me, you're so hopeless, you're losing your purpose, you're losing your meaning, you're losing your importance, and sometimes we need to hear this over and over and over again, because it's not something that you experience every moment of every day. It's something that we need to be reminded of, and we need to grab a hold of, and we need to hang on to, so that we can survive, especially now, when we've been quarantined and we're alone and we're in a cubby hole and we don't do the things that we normally do and the relationships that we normally have. So those are my comments, and
well, you're saying, in fact, I want to tell about story next week, because when we are isolated from each other, to be able to, by whatever vehicle, Zoom or Marco Polo, I use Marco Polo a lot, is to be able to look into each other's eyes. And exactly what you said, get us out of our head. My head is a tough neighborhood without the expression of others. So next week, I want to spend some time on talking about community, how this gets lived out and fleshed out in community. But I love what you said of gradually learning to not hear that voice. Gradually, as I learn this grace and I trust this identity, that voice in my head changes. Isn't that crazy? Like I used to, that was a real thing of, well, that didn't go well. We messed that up as always, And now I was on the road somewhere. I can't remember where I was, but I was in a hotel and I was getting ready to go speak. And I looked in the mirror and it caught me off. It caught me off guard. And two things happened. I like the messages that I'm speaking to myself now, that are coming out. And I look in the mirror and I dig that dude. I like him a lot. Yeah. And that has not always been true. But I can say, as a 67-year-old man now, I look in the mirror and I say, dude, I like you a lot. And that's a beautiful, beautiful place. One of the things that affirmation, what you guys are doing here today in spades, is so powerful. It creates for us a different way of seeing ourselves and an accurate way of seeing ourselves. So Jose, you're very, very insightful in what you're saying about our need for each other so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lisa, you're next.
Okay.
I'm 69 and purpose does not go away with age.
Amen. It better not, because I've got all this passion. I don't know what to do with it. Yeah.
Amen.
Hope4Life. We'll get it out of you.
That's right.
Lizzie.
Hi, everybody. Hi, John.
Hi, friend.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just really quick. First of all, thank you. You said so much, but recently you said that God created everything, that God created us, and that nothing or no one could destroy what God created. And when you said that, what I heard was, straight to my heart, was, this is why you're still here. Because nothing that has ever been done to you or nothing that you have ever done could ever stop me from loving you, or could ever stop you from becoming who you want to be and who God intended you to be. So thank you for that. I now understand that I'm here because I can't be destroyed because he created me. It's like, go ahead and try, but you can't. And then the second thing you said, which was awesome about the crowd fillers. You said there are no crowd fillers. I thought, okay. And then immediately what I heard was, you have a purpose. You're not a fly on the wall.
You have a destiny. Yes.
And so just thank you. I'm not a crowd filler. I have a purpose, and nobody can destroy me because God created me. And I heard all that from you, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. That's all I wanted to share.
Listen to this. This woman who once felt like a crowd filler, before the world began, God went, and on this particular Saturday, boom, she gets to love us and teach us and protect us and free us and make us feel safe and known. Isn't that crazy? We couldn't destroy ourselves. We said, no, I got this thing you're going to want to be careful. Yes, praise God. That's so good.
Thank you so much, Lizzie.
Lizzie, go write that down on something, engrave it in your heart.
I'm gonna go to Home Depot and buy a piece of wood and make it art on my wall.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for everybody for keeping it short and sweet so that we can get more people to share with us. Next we have a first timer.
Today too, we'll get to next time too. Thanks.
Yes. Next we have a first timer, Martha Flowers. What a beautiful name.
Oh, I know Martha.
Thank you,
know
Gigi.
Martha.
Hi, John Lynch. How are you, friend? I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, guys. So lovely. This is such a beautiful community, and I just thank y'all for letting me barge in this morning. I had no idea what I was up for. But as far as what I've heard John say this morning, and it just, John, God has blessed you with so many wonderful truths that have are such a reflection of his grace. And I'm thankful for your story, my friend.
Such part of a community that I just glean from, that I'm just the one who gets to go out and talk about them. But thank you for thank you.
So but what I heard, a couple of things that I heard you say is, one, and I love this, God is my biggest fan. Yes, he's everyone's biggest fan. I love that.
Not in general, uniquely, right?
Uniquely, yes, you're right. Thank you for that. And then two, this, and if I may, I will probably put it on my Facebook status later as a John Lynch quote. Affirmation is the environment of grace.
Amen.
And I know that to be true because in my own story, and even in your own stories, you shared when Stacy was affirming and listening to you, and that took place in a safe place. And I think that as we grow in Christ, I know that Stacy evidently knew of the grand love that Jesus had for her, and she had a grip on the tremendous grace of in her own life. And so when we are able to somehow start to understand the radical grace, we become a safe space for people to share.
Amen.
And that, I think, is part of the foundation, is learning. I had to relearn who he is, because I didn't think that he was any of those things. I thought he was that toe-tapping, finger-pointing. Oh, you didn't please me again today, Martha. And John, you have radically changed that view of him in my life, even just a short period of time. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, precious girl. Thank you. Affirmation is the currency of an environment of grace.
Yes.
If we could believe that, and you believe it, I've watched you do it to me. In the short time we've known each other, we get on Facebook together, and when I'll put a post up, Martha is one of those people who just responds so well and so wisely. Very cool. Thank you, friend.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you. And now you have another community here for you with open arms. You're welcome to join us on Saturday.
Thank you.
But also we have support groups on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you can log in and just be part of it, and you're gonna bask in a feast of grace and affirmation.
I love that.
So,
Thank you guys. Y'all
Gigi-
are amazing. Thank you so
Gigi-
much.
Gigi, this is Helen. I have a quick question.
hold on a second, Helen, sweetheart. We have a few people that are in line waiting, if you don't mind. Next, we have Carolina, and if we can keep it short and sweet, guys. We have Carolina, Mary.
Look at me, I'm starting to go down.
So Carolina, and guys, we will have John with us next week again. So if we don't make, we're not going to be able to make it through all the questions, but we have more time next week. Thank you, John, for your generosity of time. So Carolina, short and sweet. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Hello, John. A hug from Colombia. I'm also here from Colombia, so a hug from Colombia.
Yes.
Short and sweet. We've talked about community and how affirmations in community bring us humility to do more. I heard that, yes. And that's what Hope for Life has been for me. I've never met anybody personally, only Gigi who invited me here, but the rest of the wonderful community has all been virtual. And thanks to this community, I've been able to heal. And what I heard today was, again, when you said God created us with limitations in order for me to, for him to love me, and for the community, it's a safe place to share, and they will love me. I don't have to pretend anymore. And thanks to Hope for Life, I was able to share 2 weeks ago so much healing, so much wonderful things. And I also wanted to say how you mentioned that God created me in this exact moment in history to help others and to be able to crowd fillers. But again, I linked this with how wonderful you said, you may not, when you said that God, you know, all the things I don't like about myself and maybe the pain because I lived with pain when I was young, but understanding, and that is what has come to me so wonderfully. And I thank you so much because I'm understanding that even though I've been through a lot of pain, actually God and Jesus was with me holding my hand, and that is helping me be part of a community and love myself and love others. And I thank you for that. That's what I have heard today. Woo! Thank you. Woo!
It's sacred to me. Sacred. Thank you, friend.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Carolina. And isn't it incredible how perfect the timing has been? John, Carolina, and I were friends when we were in elementary school.
Gosh.
And God has connected us 30 years later. And another day you'll hear the story, but it's perfect timing.
Yes.
For
So,
today, he connected you guys for this season, for this time. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Gigi, you grew up in Colombia?
yes, I actually grew up in Colombia, but I came to the States and went back to Colombia. We both went to an American school.
It's so beautiful. Golly.
So yeah, it's just incredible. Just the knitting, how everything has been ordained, because I reached out for help, looking for help. She shows up to help me, but God had a plan where it was mutual. So anyway, I don't want to take somebody's time. We have, I think we're going to close with, we have Mari, Carlos, and Laura. If you keep it short, we can finish, and then all the rest of the questions will go for next week. Mari is Giovanna's sister.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First, I've been waiting for you, John. I just didn't know it was you. So thank you for showing up for such a time like this. I really mean it sincerely. I think that what resonated with me, it was the fact that I recognize that in my life, I have love by performance. So therefore, I have always have tried to do more and more and more, and it has never been enough.
Yeah.
And the mere fact that to understand that Jesus simply wants to love me, that is not me trying to do all these things so he can love me and like me and just say, well done, you did good today. Let's see how you do tomorrow. To me, that has been liberating. Still work in progress, but that has been very, very profound. Very profound. And thank you for that.
Oh, it's so, and what's going to happen is, in response to his love, you will find yourself innately and naturally, without duress, living love, living out this love for others that you wanted to do, but did maybe for the wrong motive. And now you get to go, oh, all these things that have been in me, they were right things. They were beautiful things. And now I get to let him love me, and he'll show me where each day. Ephesians 2 says he lays out different things and events and people for me. He just every single day lays them out. Some days I miss them, and he says it's okay. It's okay. I'll circle back around on that. If only that I came for today, I feel so blessed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know I was waiting for you, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh, Mari,
Thank you for sharing. That was amazing. But I think, John, one of the biggest thing, I think it's a lot of us have come from this performance base, because this is what we were taught in many of the churches. I mean, I don't want to judge nor criticize, and this is what I still hear today all the time when people come to me, oh, I relapse again, or something happened again. And I hear everyone saying, well, you got to repent. You got to repent first. And this concept of you got to constantly be repenting, because otherwise he's not going to accept you. If you are sinning, God backs away. He's not in your presence. He cannot be there. And all these lies that, I mean, today, I mean, we get questioned for what we do all the time, you know? Like people say, you know, you gotta watch out. You're being responsible for people and you're sending them to hell. And I mean, it's like when you said that story about, you know, the guy that told you about your book and criticized you. I mean, sometimes I hear this comments about us from local people, you know, like, you know, if you go to them, you're in darkness. You cannot be there because if you go to them, you're in darkness. You know, all these things, and you know, you're responsible. It's a big responsibility, all these people. And, you know, so it's like, I feel like you, I want to come home and I want to cry and I want to say, what am I doing? If I'm saying, you know, this is not what I want. And then all of a sudden I hear a testimony like Carolina, like Gilbert, like you know, Jose, like, I mean, there's so many, Connie, Eric, I mean, there's all the time, Lizzie, and I'm like, no, this is, how can this not be God, you know?
Yeah, you just look at the fruit of life and you go, I can't deal with them. I just go forward in the conviction of what God has given us to do. And I just say, thanks, whatever. We're going to go forward, and I'm not going to have to address my argument with that person. I don't have an argument with that person. We teach to the best of our conviction what we know to be true from God. And when we find out that anything isn't true, we change it. And we have the humility to change it. And that's, I'm so proud of what I'm seeing here, just so you can hear. It's beautiful. Very, very proud.
Thank you. Gigi, who, it was Carlos now?
Carlos Valderrama, then Laura, and then we will let you go, John. I'm so sorry that we keep wanting more of you, but it's just inevitable.
It's great. At some point, though, I've got to go do something, I'm sure.
Coming. You have to come.
We're going to be there in September, I think, right? We're going to meet Stacy, and nobody's going to want to talk to me. So I haven't let Stacy be on here today because of that. But September, I think we're coming out if all goes well, and and that'll be wonderful. You'll get to see
It happened to Bradley. He came with Eden and nobody wanted to talk to him. Everyone just wanted to talk to him.
That's right. Well, I can't wait for you to see me eat quickly. So.
Carlos.
Okay. John, first of all, I would like
Carlos, you're freezing. Carlos, you're freezing.
you very much, and you and Hope for Life and God, because today I realized, John, I wanted to thank you for Hope for Life and God, because today, not only have I heard, but I have felt God's love for me and for everyone that's here. It's, I don't know what my life would have been without.
Praise God.
Without his presence and putting me with this group that has praised me. Never in my life did I know what praise was. Thank you, God.
Oh, my brother. Oh, my God. Oh, gosh. Gosh. Oh, and the vulnerability to be able to express that is gold to a community and to ourselves. That's the freedom of a man who knows who he is in Christ and knows who Christ is in him. That's the freedom to be able to say, I can't tie this up. I can't tie this down. I won't try to tie this thing down. Yeah, that is a magically wonderful gift to us, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. We love you.
Thank you. I love you.
Your tears open the gates for many of us to come in freely and be quenched by his love. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlitos. We love you.
Love you all.
Love you. The picture you have in the back, you can see Jesus right behind you. Wow.
Yeah. Ever since I started the Zoom meetings, he's been there.
Yeah. Gee. How long have you been coming with this group, Carlos?
Almost 5 months.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And we have seen Carlos fight diligently and just allow himself to receive, you know, and it's just amazing to see what has happened with him in the last 5 months. It's actually, this is where I tell you, I feel so honored because we get to do this day in and day out. And sometimes people say, you must get exhausted. I mean, you get tired, but
it's life-giving. It's just life-giving.
To be able to be in someone's holy land, holy ground, you know, it's just like you said, precious gold. It's a gift, you know. So thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Carlos.
Laurita, where's Laurita?
Laura
I'm here.
Kefalidis.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
I love your curls.
Thank you, thank you. This is me. I have a wonderful designer, right? This is the way he created me. And for so many years, I didn't want to show myself like that. But this is
very, very cool.
A masterpiece.
Yes.
I remember the day Laura used to blow dry her hair all the time. And one day she just said, you know, I realized this is me and this is who he made me. So this is going to be me from now on, just like your hair.
That's right. That's right.
I have been coming to Hope for Life basically since they started 5 years ago.
And to me, I just didn't know what name to put to what I was going through, because I went there to see if I could help somebody else and to change somebody else. And then I realized that the one that had to change, it was me. So it has been an amazing journey. So I mentioned to Lucky and Giovanna last week that, now I have a name to what I have gone through, which is a spiritual journey, where I have learned how to forgive. I have learned how to reconcile with others. I have learned to be aware, like I was not even aware of my thoughts. And I wanted to thank you for your story. I really cried. They really touched my heart. But they also made a confirmation of my thoughts, because, like the fight that we have every day, to do what we think we're supposed to do, right? Like I get up, I want to do this, I want to do that, and all these things. And yes, is Papa with me? Yes, he's with me, and I feel that he's with me. But at nighttime, sometimes I come at nighttime and I say, I really didn't do much. And to be able to hear him saying, it is okay.
Yeah.
I love you, you're just a baby to me.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's okay. You can go to sleep. Don't worry about it.
Right.
So you have just given me that consideration.
And you have also no idea what I've got waiting for you about a chapter and a half into this book. Oh, you won't, it'll blow your mind. And so you just go, yeah, today was today. And he's never going, what? Really? That? He is unable to even think that way. Yeah. But that's beautiful. Beautiful.
So that is amazing. So you just did a confirmation of that, because I have been, what I'm learning is I am learning to love myself, So if I get to do that, then that's, I am in that. That's what Hope4Life has done for me, to come to that conclusion.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laurita, and you don't need to do anything at Hope4Life for us to love you. We just love you.
Thank you.
To come to believe that, to actually come to believe that who I am, the way I am, is enough. And that there will be days where I go, well, I got exhausted. So many things to do. And other days you go, and he goes, it's all good. It is all the same.
That's amazing to be able to hear that, So I was not sure, because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, it is okay. Even in my worst moment, like I have to confess, yesterday I had a worst moment where I really didn't want to be alive. Not that I wanted to hurt it's just that I was tired, and for him not to change my mind of anything, but just to feel that he was just comforting me. It's okay. That's just amazing.
Who hear us say this, they're afraid we're getting away with something and that we're taking advantage of. Instead, just the opposite. Because of my new creation, the most real me wants to love. The most real me wants to be loved. The most real me wants to do good. The most real me wants to obey. It's just that instead of complying or trying to impress, now it's coming out of his love for me, and I find myself obeying from the heart, wanting to do things beautifully. It creates this beautiful relationship that frees the best of who I am, the best, that nothing else. That's why Romans 6:14 is so powerful. Sin will not be master over you, because you're no longer under law, but you're under grace, and that grace is freeing such a beautiful life for you. I just want to confirm that, just even as I hear you speak, he is doing wonder through you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And I have a bad news for everyone, Gigi, Lucky, and everyone else. What I heard today is I'm always on time. So there's no such thing as being late.
Yeah.
I'm always on time.
I love you, Jovi.
Are we supposed to be twisting words like that? Are we supposed to be twisting words like that?
So we just wanted to say thank you to everyone that joined us today. As you heard, and we did not say it in the announcement, John is going to join us next Saturday. So we get to continue this beautiful conversation. And I know we will have time to digest a lot of this, and all those funny questions come. So if God is so good, why does he allow this? You know, like all those typical things that we hear, and like what you just said right now, you know, I tell people, to me, love covers everything. To me, it's like, you know, like the fat Greek wedding, the guy used to take the Windex, you know, a pimple, Windex, this Windex. To me, when everyone comes and they want these sophisticated answers, I just say, love them.
Yep.
That's it. My child is behaving this way and I want him, love him. And it's funny, today I read a little bit of your book where that story that your dad used to tell you, do this, do your chores, blah, blah, blah. And then one day he walked into your room and you thought, and he just said to you, do you know, I'm proud of you. And that did something in you.
Well, I'll read that about the pyracantha next time. That was a game changer for me in our relationship. And I have no idea where he got the wherewithal to come to my room and do that, but it rocked my world. I'll read that maybe next time out of On My Worst Day.
So we just want to say thank you so much. You know, if you have energy, if you have time, if you don't know what to do with yourself, you are always welcome to come here.
That's beautiful. I have discovered a beautiful, authentic community. That's sacred.
Yes. So thank you for blessing us. Thank you. Like I will say it again, thank you for putting an exclamation mark to our tears, to our frustrations, to our doubts, and to what we're doing and to our journey. You just came and did this. Put an exclamation mark, period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you. God bless. Tell Stacy we say thank you for sharing.
I sure will. And I'll see you guys a week from now. Same thing. I can drop in about 6:30 my time, 9:30 yours, and that way I won't be grumpy. So thank you. Great love.
God bless you.
John, I love you and I bless you. Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel like we should dance or something.
That is the part that nobody has control,
John.
right, Gigi?
Wow, what a treat we
Gigi,
had.
thank you.
Wow. No, Gigi, nothing. Lucky who went to the ends of the earth to find these people. I think my purpose is to help people do what they envision to do.
Gigi, thank you for your help. Thank you for your part.
But it's Lucky and Giovanna. Thank you for wow, what a treat.
It's like, you know,
this is where we are in Hope4Life. You see? You see? You see?
You know that song that goes like, oops, I did it again. You know, I think right now it's like, I could be like, oops, God, you did it again. He's showing off himself. And I think if we take the theme of everyone from Eden and Bradley when we started with them to today, if we're not hearing drilling inside of us, you are my delight. I love you. Special to me. Let me love you. Don't do anything. Just let me show you how much I love you. If we are not in these 10 weeks and not hear that, come on. This is what he's telling us, and he keeps assuring us how much and love and grace, and his love and his grace for us. And once we get it, once that begins to dwell inside of us, it's just going to be so easy to pass it on to other people, you know? Just right now, our tanks are being filled. So sometimes it's very hard to pass it on. And I realized that story that he said when that guy said to him about the book, and he shared and he said how when we feel ashamed, when we feel like that, we want to hurt someone. And I think that's a lot of what happens to all of us, you know, when we feel inadequate, when we feel hurt, we cannot feel it. And then the next person next to us has to pay for it, you know? And
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing, that to be able to catch ourselves, and more than anything is to open our hearts to hear that he wants to love us, that he wants to love us, you know?